I'm not familiar enough with it to say that, but that's my suspicion. And, you know, it's one thing to budget appropriately for what you anticipate, but to just put numbers in because you may need it and you don't really know why you may need it, that's a different matter. So that I've encouraged the departments to think it through in that way. I haven't really had good occasion to talk to all of them in detail yet, but we'll have that conversation as we go. And Debbie, why don't you?
Well, first of all, I wanted to just clarify, you know, we discussed the Conservation Trust Funds transfer yesterday. I looked into it, and basically what it was, it's called revenue sharing. And we're sending that much money to City of Monte Vista. What we need to do as a it says is recorded as a transfer when we do our year-end report to CTF. So that's where the word transfer came in. So on the report that we submitted at the end of the year to CTF, we'll call it as a transfer to City of Monte Vista. And then we have to guarantee that the City of Monte Vista put the money into their CTF fund. So that's where that transfer language was.
And did you visit with that lady or you just?
It's an email that I dug up from Trisha's email.
Okay, and it's very specific about how to do that?
I know how to do it because I did the CTF report for 2019.
So what do we have from Monte Vista that says they?
We need to probably get something. I'll let Jean talk about that.
We visit for just a second, Spring. There's a lady in Monte Vista. I'm gonna call today and have her write the letter that says this is where it's been, and then some kind of proof that it actually went into their CTF, because it has to go in their CTF fund down there to be solid. And I'll get that done today. So, and then that'll be our backup for everything that goes right straight to the. Because we have that letter, we have that signed letter from the City of Monte Vista that's what it's used for, but it doesn't have documentation for where the dollars went and everything. So.
And I'm assuming on their end, when they do their CTF report at the end of the year, they have to show it as a revenue sharing from Rio Grande County. So it didn't really, you know, with the check, it was fine that we sent a check.
But we just have to have the backup documentation.
We just have to make sure we report it right at year end when we do our CTF.
Yeah, as long as we report it as a transfer at the end of the year, we're okay. The letter from Monte Vista will be to back up the fact that we actually had something from them that said that's what was spent specifically.
Okay, so I have some question on your guys' budget. Because when Suzanne was here, Suzanne Benton, she kind of just plugged in numbers based on what was in there for this year's budget. So we have $5,000 for furniture and equipment and $10,000 for capital expenditures. So if you don't need that, we could reduce our budget by $15,000 just by removing that. So do you have any intentions on buying any capital expenses for $10,000 and furniture for $5,000?
In fiscal year 21.
Right,
And you're talking about the commissioners.
right, their budget.
We have talked about
It's on page 4.
nothing about that to this point. Everything is this year. Everything we've talked about, TVs.
Yes,
this
yes,
year.
that's all this year's budget.
And so unless we have.
And I don't know
else,
what your intention was when you had those prior discussions. So, you know, Debbie and I are both sort of coming in without that historic knowledge. So if you had intention of doing anything, we need to know what that is.
Well, originally for 2020, we were talking about the sound system and things of that nature. And maybe she just carried those numbers over.
I think when we were trying to get the proposed budget to you by our deadline of October, I think we kind of just carried everything, carried over.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to confirm if I can remove that. And if we remove that, we got $15,000 to apply towards the increases.
15,000.
Right, 15,000 towards the increases. And the insurance costs.
Yeah, if we don't know specifically what the use was, that would be my recommendation.
The only other component of that I can think of is at one time we were talking about Tony was going to move up here. Where were we going to put her? Did we need to?
And this is in your budget, the commissioner's budget, not in the administration.
Oh, so none of that. That's strictly this room right here then.
That's your guys' budget.
Yeah, I want an office for somebody.
Well, that's actually a conversation we should have, right? But how to make that happen, we may not have a clear
We may not
plan
have a
for
clear
at this
picture.
point.
Thoughts, direction for Debbie on this?
I think it'd be okay to take it out.
I do too. I'm
Okay.
fine with it,
Okay.
yeah.
We just got us $15,000.
In the first 15 minutes, we're on a roll here. Let's keep
Break
going.
time.
Yeah, but we got like a million to
Yeah.
go, don't we?
Debbie, in our time window here between now and when we get our first department head, can we also talk about what memberships have
That's the
carried
next
over?
one.
That was your next on your
I mean,
list.
as far as the community assistance, is that what you're talking about?
I've gotten letters from Urged, from someone else that it's a routine Colorado counties, those kind of things that we pay every year. I just want to make sure we're capturing that correctly.
We got some budget money in the commissioner's budget. It looks like we have $20,000.
State national dues.
Mhm. Is
And-
that what you're
and
asking about?
I think those things probably fall into that category because these are not new entities that we're supporting, but they're just asking for continued memberships.
Their dues, basically.
Does that include the DRG or does that come from another line?
That comes from another line.
I'm sure that would be CCI.
So regardless of what line item they come from, I just need to make sure they're included in the budget if you intend to maintain those memberships.
And if we paid for them last year, they're in here because like I
Okay.
said, we carried everything over. So
Okay.
if they're new and I don't know about them, they may not be included in here.
Shouldn't be any new.
I don't think they're new.
Everything should be a carryover from the previous years, so.
And I would say there's none of those that we would like to discontinue
Okay.
either.
That was my question. I didn't ask it very clearly.
Well, it's still early.
It's still early.
So on the
We'll
community
keep it tight.
assistance portion of the budget, I know that Suzanne had a pile of requests. Have those been approved or do you know for sure?
Those, we wanted to see the rest of our budget before we,
You're talking about outside
You're talking-
entities?
yeah. And so that would be the San Luis Valley Commissioners bunch of requests. And I think what we wanted to do was to look at the rest of our budget and figure out how that fit in.
And normally we would have had some idea where we were at with the budget earlier
Yes.
just in our mind, maybe even if we hadn't seen it. And we could have based some of that stuff in one ahead, but there's a lot of things in the community assistance this year that's gonna have to be addressed and looked at. There's 2 or 3 items on there that we really have to find out some details amongst us. So.
Okay,
So as we think through what the rest of your budget process looks like, maybe plug those things toward the end of your conversations once you've hammered through some of these others. Okay. And a question for Debbie, the indirect expenses, when's a good time to have that conversation?
when you say indirect expenses, what do you mean?
You were talking about sharing operational costs among departments and how those are broken out.
I think, well, we're working on the DSS cost allocation plan, and that
Ah,
has to be done
and
by a
that will-
consultant. And then we thought maybe we would incorporate public health into,
Sharing.
doing a cost allocation too, so we know what portion of money they reimburse the general fund, just like that's what social service does, that's what that cost allocation plan does. It tells the state how much money to give to us, because we're providing services for social services, but we also may be able to include a cost allocation plan for public health, so the indirect money that they get from all the grants can come back to the general fund.
What about the other departments?
Mostly everybody else is in the general fund, but if you want to go back into each department, but most of the departments are in the general fund, so the only ones would be the public health, the DSS, maybe road and bridge wouldn't. I don't know if you want to include that.
What, aside from office supplies and copy paper, is there some other big expense that these departments incur that we're paying out of general fund right
For
now?
just basically for the public health, because we do pay, I believe we pay the utilities, the phone, the landline phone, and then, if you want to charge a portion of the rent that they're taking space up here in the building. So that could be, maybe indirect money could be used that way.
Okay, but let's just take we're looking at well, clerk, assessors, treasurers,
But they're all in the general fund.
they're all in general fund. So it doesn't matter. So if admin pays for all the copy paper and every department uses it,
Well,
where does
yeah,
that fit in their office supply budget?
it's not in, I don't think admin pays for it. I think indirect service.
Admin's
Department-
paying for half of it.
Well, there's an indirect service, and I believe that's for all of the
Copy
shared
machine
costs.
supplies is $1,000.
We pay 600 and something a year for our half of the pallet of copy paper.
And that's probably
CTC
coming from,
and CTC was paying for the other half, which was inappropriate.
I'm betting the $600 would be in that $1,000 of copy machine supplies.
in the indirect service
Correct,
department, right?
correct,
Within the general fund.
right.
So it comes down to really how specific do you want to be at your functions within your general fund? It is important to break it down between the funds because they're different funds.
Mhm.
But if you're looking at the admin use up here versus, do you care to break down human resources from my office? It's probably not worth the administrative time it would take to break that down. But there are ways to do that if you.
Well, I'm not trying to, like we've said before, get down to how many sheets of paper you use. But each of the departments has their own office supply account. And they're buying from different sources. There are one caveat is they don't have to buy their own paper. Is there other stuff they're doing? I mean, do we have any idea?
I
how
think
that's
those are good
happening?
things to look at and maybe not today.
No, I'm just,
But it is something good to keep in mind as you try to get a more accurate budget. Part of the goal is to be able to look back historically and see what any particular function has used in any particular area. If our talking about vehicles is kind of a big enough thing to trigger some conversation. If we're replacing vehicles on a cycle, what does that look like? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? And what do you budget for to compensate for that? You don't know that answer if you look back historically and somebody bought a vehicle out of another line item and didn't capture it correctly in the budget. So those are what we're trying to accomplish now. We don't have a lot of history because I don't know, what you said, Encode will go back to 18?
We have history, we have the CIC, we have the history
We
on our
have
server
history
now.
on a
Yay.
different
So we got the
different,
history.
software.
Okay.
back
Also-
to, go ahead.
I was just say, if all the copy paper comes here, like school systems, for example, when they order all the copy paper, it goes to BOCES, and BOCES bills it out to whichever school it goes to. So do we have a system we don't have anything like it all?
That's what I was referring to when I said everybody orders their own, except for it appears the copy
Well,
paper.
I understand that we do get money back from different funds. Bobby knows more about it than I do, but she says that when she buys, like the postage, basically, she fills up the postage
Mhm.
machine. And then towards the end of the year, I guess she kind of tallies up what department, because you put codes in there,
Mhm.
what fund, I guess, just fund used it. She'll send an invoice to that fund, and then that fund will write us a check.
Hmm.
So we do a little bit of that.
So we do capture part of it. So we just need to
Right.
figure out what those, sit down and have that conversation maybe with Bobby on some of the stuff then and find out what we're not. Because your point is everybody has a Staples department they order from or whatever. And then, okay.
Well, and my guess is on the paper that if you buy a pallet of it, it's less expensive.
Yeah.
So you can get a big discount on it, especially if it's all indirect. If it's all out of general fund, the amount that's out of a general fund, it's fine. Buy it out of the general fund indirect and then bill to the other funds if they use a bunch or whatever. And I think that's fine. And then the other office supplies, pencils, how many dollars worth of pencils are you going to use? Not that many, that you're not going to get a huge discount on that.
What I see is things like, everybody seems to have their own printer, type of printer.
Mhm.
There's like, I think, 3 different kinds, 3 or 4 different kinds down in Public Health,
Mhm.
which they buy. I don't know where the toner comes from. I don't know. And I'm not trying to get down to that level of detail, but the paper caught my attention because we're going to get nailed on it. Because CTC paid for half the county's paper. Okay. And that's one of the audit items they specifically requested.
I think we can develop some, separate from the budget conversation, I think we can develop some internal processes around that might improve things rather than worrying about, I mean, not that it's not important where the money came from, because it is the grant money. But rather than dissect it at the who paid for it level, let's dissect it at the how do we use it and how do we.
I see that as another
It
a
is.
structural thing,
Right.
but I do know that the auditors specifically are looking at that one item.
That one thing.
And I know, I don't know how many other items like that might be floating around out there where somebody just arbitrarily dipped into a grant to inappropriately pay for stuff.
And that is a
wasn't
separate item from a budget conversation that needs to be addressed. You know, I've seen both extremes on the sort of the concept of central purchasing with a really big organization. If you buy mass quantities of even those inexpensive things like pencils and then parcel them out and charge people for them, it might make sense. I don't think we're that big to make it worth the staff time required to go through that process.
And what I usually see is like within the general fund, there is a department like in indirect services that collects all of the fees for the general fund, you know. And then that's where we budget everything. We don't budget by department. We budget everything that everybody uses within the indirect service fund.
So Debbie, if we came to you and said, I want to see what that's done, can you pinpoint that down enough to?
Not to see who's taken,
No,
The
but
pencils.
who are being reimbursed from? Which ones are reimbursing it from the indirect? Or
we could
does
look
it
at
just come in as a?
it comes in as a, we write ourselves a check basically from one fund to another fund. So
But there's an
that's-
invoice that accompanies that.
there's a check that came in through the treasurer's office that came from, well, DSS will write us a check and then they'll process.
So
through
do
the
we
regular
invoice
cycle.
them for that check?
I think Bobby gives them an amount. I don't know how she, if it's an
Or
invoice.
shouldn't there be a paper trail on that?
There is,
There is.
I think she has the information.
That
on her
particular one,
site.
I know there is, but I can't tell you how it works, but I know that there is, because Joe.
Because this is how we ended up.
But like I
with-
say, we would have to have a conversation with Bobby at a later time to discuss all. the
That's how we
details.
ended up with a $75,000 surplus in public health on the indirect. Is they weren't being invoiced and we weren't being reimbursed.
Well, that's why we need the cost allocation plan, so we can be able to do
Okay,
that.
but the
and
cost
back it up.
allocation plan would help us with that. But that, Jody presented that to us because
Well,
they have to do it.
right, DSS, but maybe we could,
Public health hasn't been doing it, but it's gonna cost $6,500 just to
We
have
think,
somebody do that for us.
we don't know,
Well,
we don't know that amount yet. That's what we
don't know the amount.
anticipate.
But that way we have something to stand by behind when we bill public health for a certain amount. We have something to stand behind because if we went to that plan.
But you're still gonna have to provide all that data to the company that
Right. We'll
puts it
have to
together,
be.
so it's not gonna save you any time, it's just gonna cost us $6,500. That's
Well, I don't
the-
know,
They
I don't know what the
will do-
fee would be, but that was, if we added another part of it, it might just be additional 2,000, 3,000, I don't know. Until we get the bids
Yeah,
in.
I'm gonna have to float that IFB soon for that service. Cost allocations, because
And we need to let Dr. Brancula in on it, but I
I,
doubt if he's gotten the budget yet.
no, I've invited him for a conversation this afternoon, so we're gonna get him up to speed on some of the budget things.
Okay, real quick before we run out of time, the maintenance of the buildings, I don't know who's in charge of the budget for that. Is that you, Dean? So I noticed that there was $10,000 included in the 2020, but this is 2020 budget. Do you have? It's
What
not
page
has
are we
been
looking
used
at?
yet. We're looking at page 11 of the main budget.
I don't know what that noise is. You hear that every once in a while.
I think it
Somebody
was
knocking on the
Armando.
counter over there.
Are we going to be using those funds this year?
I think the $10,000 you're talking about capital
Yeah, in
expenditure
2020.
is, that was, like we had an unexpected repair on the roof of the museum. And those kind of things is we put that in there for that type of thing.
So it wouldn't be the 20,000 that you have in repairs and maintenance?
Well,
So capital would be something like a piece of equipment that costs over $5,000 that has a
Okay.
useful life
More
of.
than-
Okay,
one
and so the
year.
repairs and maintenance would be that $20,000 for that kind of stuff. Okay, then the capital expenditure would be furnace repair, or if we needed a new furnace or something, because also at the museum, we needed new heating,
Yeah,
new heaters.
and that did go through the maintenance for
And it-
whatever reason
yeah.
they did that.
But it hasn't been spent, so are you gonna use that money this year?
I don't know that we're gonna,
There is, some of that will be going away because we are
The
replacing a
boiler?
bunch of stuff on the boiler. Yeah, we had to order a new tank reservoir and.
but that
motor.
wouldn't be, would that be a capital expense? Is it
It's
that
over
big?
5.
Okay,
Yeah, when it's
And if
done,
it-
when it's done, I mean, the invoices won't be that much individually. as
But the
this-
project.
But the project itself
And
will.
it'll add life to the building.
Yeah,
Right.
it'll change it by probably 50 years.
Okay, so I didn't carry that over to 2021 budget. So just so you know that we have 0 for 2021 on that.
That's the capital expense under 5,000,
Right.
as
Mhm.
opposed to
No,
repairs and maintenance building. We got
Right.
20,000 both years, 2020 and 2021, repairs and maintenance building. And then we have 10,000 for 2020, which we did not tap yet for items under 5,000 capital.
So you have
expenditure.
like a total between furniture, equipment and capital expenditures, you have $20,000 that you used a little bit of the furniture and equipment, almost $2,000. So you still have a little bit
and I think
there.
part of this is, the whole COVID thing kind of sucked all the air out of the room. And so any of the projects that were looked at kind of went away.
Okay,
And can we go back for just a minute to the indirect? Is in the indirect capital expenditure, there's 70,000
that was this year.
that was on there for 2020. That was the vehicles that we were gonna buy for the fleet. That would be, and I remember we were going to do a four-wheel drive vehicle that would be in the fleet that could be used by land use or could be used by the assessor whenever they needed it.
That was in the server, the Tyler server for Encode, any of that?
That
Was
was
somewhere
not,
else?
that was somewhere else. I
Okay,
don't know where right now, but that was what that 70,000 was. Because we were going to, and then we were also going to put another vehicle in the fleet and kind of update the fleet. And so I think that was 2 vehicles, maybe 3, but it was 70,000. And that's what that was. But there again, COVID kind of sucked all the air out of the room and we didn't get that done. I don't know if there's still time to
Well,
do
you have to
that.
make sure you get it done before the end of the year and we're
Right.
invoiced. Because I didn't carry that over to 2021. So if you wanted, wait. till
And so I think
2021,
we need to decide if we're going to do that this year.
And that was for which department?
it was-
Indirect services.
Oh, okay,
Page 5.
all right. So now is the time to talk about that then.
Yeah, if you're not going to utilize the funds this year, you need to budget for next
Well,
year.
I tell you, that's a little bit more of an answer than probably do right now, because it's going to depend on whether, if we're buying new trucks, for example, it'd depend on whether or not we can get them invoiced before the end of the year. Because
Right.
the way COVID's got everything backed up, when we talk about in the weed district meeting in a little bit, we're gonna talk about one of the same situation, but this thing here, I don't know the government fleet might have to, but it'd take some phone calls to find out before we could
Well,
actually,
and I think right now, if you order a vehicle, you're out
12 weeks.
90
minimum.
days.
They told me 12 weeks on
Yeah.
that stuff, so.
So, yeah, okay.
But that's what that was. And so I think we need to have that conversation.
Yeah, and we could do that pretty short order. I mean, I can do a lot of that stuff.
So just let me know, because right now I'll need to budget in 2021 if you're not going to get that accomplished this year.
So
which
if we
it sounds
move
like you're
70
not.
grand across,
Now we're in.
our 15 grand didn't do too much.
But the 70, if you shift it from 2020 to 2021, it's still money that you're not expending in 2020 and moving forward.
It's still in fund
So
balance,
you're not,
basically, because that's what you're
and
getting.
it may have been in fund balance to
was.
spend in 2020 is
Yes.
the issue. But it's just a carryover. it's, you still should be able to have a balanced budget in 2021.
Okay,
So,
now we can go back to where you were. I'm sorry.
okay, so what was I at? The
I
building.
will go work on some stuff and let's see what some ideas. We try to have some answers that quick.
So could I reduce the repairs and maintenance in the building department, in the building maintenance department? Because I carried over that 20,000 into 2021.
I don't know if I would because
Yeah, there's gonna be things
we
that need to
we
be done.
replaced half a roof on a museum. And I still think we're gonna be replacing
So
the
I
other
would
half
need,
before long.
I think it's a good idea to leave it.
So
in.
I would
think
need
we
to
better
move
leave
that
it there, be
money.
on the safe side.
so I-
Hopefully we won't have to spend it, but
so I would need to move that pot of money into the museum repair and maintenance GL account, which is above that one, 4215.
Because it doesn't, you think it doesn't really belong in this general. It should go
Well, there is a
specifically to
line
museum.
item in this department for museum repairs and maintenance. The budget in 2021 is $5,000. So if you go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 to 8 lines from the repairs,
Okay,
it's up there, at $5,000. Do you want me to move that money into that line item?
I'd be hesitant to do that just because, well, I guess
If it's gonna
if
be,
you, whether it's gonna be the museum that needs it or not, I don't
Right.
know, is that I think all of our buildings, well, and we had repairs on the. We've got, all of our buildings are older. And so you can have
well, I
a,
guess it's okay, it's
$10,000.
okay, but, because it's within the same department, so it doesn't really
Right.
matter, just know that if we
Just-
don't do that, the line items might be off budget a little bit next year.
and I think the line items being off budget is okay. It just, but I don't think we want to get rid of it.
Okay, I'll keep it there, okay. So how about the $10,000? I changed it to $7,000 in the 2021 budget for furniture and equipment. Should I leave that $7,000 in there? Did I say 7,000?
7,000.
yeah, it wouldn't hurt to leave it. I don't think we have anything coming up. They're not gonna get any furniture or anything in there, but I don't know. what we
Well, I
might
think
need
that
with
would
the
be things like lawnmowers and stuff would also fall under that.
buffers and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I think most of that stuff's pretty new, but I don't know how much to cut that or not.
Okay, I'll just leave I won't mess with that, but how about, I went ahead and I'm going to reduce the salaries in the maintenance of buildings. Because I think when we carried it over, it included more positions and we only have 2. Is that all we're gonna
Right.
have in there now?
I think so.
Yes,
because, well, we've got the contract
Contract
with the
services.
contract cleaner.
Okay, so then I can reduce that by maybe about $30,000, $30-some thousand.
Well, I
Does
think
that include
probably
the
even more
raises?
than that.
The proposed raises, that number would.
I think right now, that with the 2 employees, it's, well, around that, between all the benefits and everything, it's about 80,000, so
okay.
it'll reduce both the salary line item and the health insurance line item.
Okay,
And
Yeah, I think
that's-
that would be
what line
substantial.
item is
That's
it?
page 10 on the maintenance of building department. And you see line item salaries full-time. And right now it's for 2021, it's budgeted at 118,000.
Right,
We'll reduce that, and then you go down several lines and you see the health insurance. That is now budgeted, well, for 2021 at about 27,000.
Mhm.
I can reduce that also, because that included.
and
more
the total
employees.
reduction is approximately.
I don't know yet. I'll have to plug those numbers in because based on your decision on how you want to go with the raise. If you're going to do a COLA and a merit, I guess that's our next topic.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And there's a placeholder for that. Once you move from your work session into a formal meeting, you can give some formalized direction to staff around those items. So talk about it all you want now, but
Okay.
be ready for a decision before you leave this morning for lunch.
So I'm just trying
So
to see what I can say.
these numbers were produced before we talked about COLA and merit.
Right.
So
This is
these
when
are
Suzanne was here.
basically no change from 2020, 2021.
Right, and now I'm trying to identify where I can make the changes
Mhm.
to reduce our spending in each department that we have control over. And that's all I have for our departments.
Okay.
Just to point out another thing that's going to affect multiple departments, as we go through talking about a number of positions, that it sounds like there's a fair number that may be vacant that are continuing to be budgeted for. So as you meet with each department, that's something to definitely talk about, what those needs are with regard to
Do
that.
we have anything that tells us which one have vacant?
I don't know.
I have a report, but it's broken down by employee name, and I can let you look at it.
Vacant positions that we haven't filled.
Well, those, such as those that you just talked about with building, you know, that's the,
It's an example.
that's an example of the things that need.
Road and Bridge said they planned on backfilling, as I understand.
And you'll have the chance to talk to every department about those because they're the ones with the knowledge about that workload need. We just noticed from the HR side of things that there seem to be ongoing vacancies that continue to be budgeted for, but maybe not.
So HR has knowledge of that?
Mhm.
Can we get a number from them?
That's what
That's
we
what I
got
have,
that.
right now, that's what right now I show in the Sheriff's Department, I show 3 vacancies. And I think the deputy officers.
But he wants to fill those, doesn't he?
And he has a plan of how to do that.
So Sheriff's Department probably,
That's what we want to talk to them about. Make sure I don't have any extra in here that I shouldn't. And if I can remove it, it'll help our budget that much more. And in the jail, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vacancies is what I understand from HR.
other departments, treasurers,
The DSS, we talked to, Deborah talked to Jody, and it looks like they have 4 vacancies there. So we went ahead and included those in the budget.
you put them in.
That's why if we don't need them,
Mhm.
I want to take them out, and that's why we need to get clarification from the department.
We just
heads.
don't know, we don't know which
Right.
ones to ask.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But I think it's important that we identify those to talk about because if they're vacant and don't get budgeted, that's not good either. But
Right.
if you're budgeting money that you don't intend to spend, we should reallocate that somewhere else.
And I think we had like 3 or 4 in the road and bridge. 3 of them in the road and bridge, it looks like. So we need to talk to them and see if they are.
We just need to make sure we ask that question when it comes in front of us every time. Just start the
Well, we can
conversation.
ask everyone, but if we say the Sheriff's Department, we see that you're budgeted for 16 deputies, you only got 13. Do you need 16? That kind of question. But if we ask, we don't know. It's different if you ask people, do you have positions that you don't need?
Yeah, no.
Versus
And
You've
that's
got budgeted
actually.
Yeah, and I
positions,
don't,
are
we
you
don't know
gonna
the
fill it?
answer. I look at this and I don't know if
how you
they're.
ask the question. I guess.
Well, and that's where we as an admin team need to be doing a better job of assessing those HR issues as they come up. And I think Deborah's going to be really good at following through with that and bringing those to light as we go forward.
And we're gonna get other requests. Vancouver's already told me he wants 3 more people, and we'll talk.
And,
Yeah.
and you will. You don't have a date scheduled yet, but you will. We're going to schedule your future dates before you're out of here today also.
Judas Priest, it's looking closer to 12 now. I'm thinking we're gonna miss our lunch hour today.
We're not missing lunch hour. We got to set some rules.
Your department heads that are arriving know how much time they have. And I think you've identified a lot of the things to expedite those conversations.
I did really appreciate this form that you
Yeah.
gave us the other day with the employee counts. I'm almost thinking we could just add another column on here that says vacancies.
Yeah, and I don't know whether, until I talk
don't
to
know.
them, I
Yeah.
need to know if they're true vacancies or not, or if it just,
Or maybe we can just talk to HR and get how many how many of these spots that were
That's not the
Right.
same.
budgeted
Yeah, it's,
are vacant.
I don't have mine.
yeah, mine's scarred up.
If you think you're ready for your first department head, I can see if JJ will come up a little bit on the early side. Would that be helpful? Are you ready for that?
That would be good.
Mhm.
Can we take a little
Take a
short?
little break.
Yeah, you've
While we're
already,
waiting?
you've already up a lot of our clock.
I know. I'm just keeping you guys going, I tell you. Okay, I'm gonna pause the Zoom,
Why do we have some, oh, that's the CTC, I'm thinking.
and I'm
Conservation
going
Trust.
to,
Because Jane, I'll do that back to you.
in here today? Oh,
Okay,
can we
you're
close
back
those
on.
blinds?
I think
Because
we're leaving here.
on the Zoom, whenever it looks at Debbie, it's like that,
Oh,
that
okay.
light shows up behind her and
Got
it's
a glow
really.
Oh,
above her
that
head,
was
Like
looks
an
like a
angel over
halo.
here.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe that's good.
That was a good catch. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Do I have to say stuff or what are we doing? Well, I would like to ask for a vehicle. I haven't gotten any quotes or anything because you guys usually shoot me down. But it's hard to go to some of these properties though in that van. It drags the bottom. We're lucky that it's holding up as well as it is. I think it's doing it out of spite of
And
holding up like it is because we want it to.
we just had this discussion. Is it in our budget for last year? For 2020? We have $70,000 set aside for a four-wheel drive vehicle that would go into the fleet. And then you could use it or Dixie could use it or
Okay.
whoever. And that's in our budget for this year. But we were having the discussion right now, vehicles are very difficult to get. The factories kind of shut down and whatnot. And so that may or may not happen this year.
Okay,
We're gonna look, I'm gonna get on Horn and find out if there's some in the government fleet somewhere we can
okay.
get a hold of.
So
them.
what if you don't get to use that money you already allotted for that? What happens? Or you,
We were just talking about moving it to next year's budget.
Yeah.
okay,
But my question to you is, if we do that, if we put that in the fleet, you can go ahead and keep your van available for your local runs and stuff like that, and
yeah,
we won't put it out.
Mhm.
How many miles are on that?
I'm not
Yeah.
even sure. I don't think it has that
I thought
many
it was
though.
fairly low, so
Like
we could, something we could use.
60 or 70
Yeah.
maybe.
That's something we could use for a while to do our
Mhm.
running
Oh,
around.
yeah. And you know, like if we do all go to training ever again in our lives, we ever get to go to a real class and stuff.
Well, you can actually go sit in the van, just turn the computer on and watch.
I
it from there,
guess.
so-
There you go.
We can all fit in it. Not, you don't want to ride in there for
Wouldn't be,
days, but
wouldn't be
yeah.
6 feet
Well-
apart and everything. So you
Oh,
got-
and yeah,
And-
there's no distancing in there.
But in that account, there was enough money for a four-wheel drive vehicle. And I believe another, like a car of some sort that would
Okay.
be possibly, like an all-wheel drive or something that would be appropriate for a group going to a training or something like that, in addition to the four-wheel drive vehicle.
Okay,
That was the intent for
Okay.
2020. Would that satisfy?
yeah, I
What you
think
need.
so, yeah,
Okay.
because we usually plan our week and then we know what day we're going out, so. Because I
Okay.
guess you would have to get on the schedule to use that
Well, and I
vehicle.
think that'd be a pretty easy one to coordinate. Just Bobby
Yeah.
could just keep a track like she does anything else and just,
Yeah.
Dixie's got it reserved for this day or you got it reserved for that day.
Yeah, I think that would work
Or
good.
would it, whoever else may have a need for,
Well, we tried,
that?
and I
And-
think,
Try to
yeah,
limit it to those two
try to
departments.
eliminate that or limit to you two, and then we don't have to track it so much. Because if we get the other one we needed was for art. So that's going to be, and that one we kind of want to set it up so it can be set up with all this.
Yeah,
gear
he
stuff in it,
needs
so-
something that's got his equipment in it and he gets called out in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
So it's a different.
He needs to
scenario.
keep it at
You
home.
want 2 desks, why?
I want them to match.
Oh, because public health's trying to get rid of 2 desks,
Well,
but they won't
are
match.
they the same kind that I have that
I
are
have
Army
no idea
surplus
what they're
from
doing.
1942?
Are those
you might
metal?
go by and look.
Are they metal when you scratch them? They're green?
Yes,
You don't want to get rid of those.
I
Anything-
know, but
They're
you know what?
solid.
I've been trying to buy Dale a new desk for years,
Mhm.
but he's like, you can't find me one because those desks are pretty neat. They even have
Yeah.
like a little thing that you can have an extra
Yeah.
little space to
Mhm.
write. So,
You might
No.
look at public health,
yeah,
see what they've got.
okay.
They, I've gotten surplus government desks before and they're great. The old ones,
Yeah,
they last forever, but people changed out the cheap stuff because they were prettier.
well, and like I thought we started changing them out a few years ago and one is really junky. But then the other two from like last year or the year before are very nice.
You might talk to Kaylee in public health
Okay.
on your way out.
Because we want L-shaped,
She's
all
great.
the
How
new
many
ones
she's
are
gonna get rid of?
L-shaped.
You like
And
the
then we
L.
don't
Talked to
have
me
to
about
have
that
all that
yesterday.
other,
Well,
then
I
we
don't
had
know.
all
Hers
these
may just
other
be
little
straight
things.
desk. I don't know. Take a look.
Also,
I'll
But
go
you
down
want,
there.
but you want desk with returns on it.
also, Jean Borrego has one. It's in Alamosa, and it's like the L shape with on one side, it's got the shelves and
Oh.
everything.
okay,
I don't know about the quality or anything, but it's a nice big desk.
okay,
You might talk to her, or if you're in Alamosa, go by and see it.
okay.
So you've got lots of space for these great big desks.
We have, no, I thought we got in trouble for not social distancing in my office, even though we've been 6 feet apart for years.
30 years.
But, well, it's Dale's, because the other 3 are those kind, and it would fit right there in Dale's.
So Dale needs one and you want one more for,
Dale and Heather's isn't new either. Heather's is an old one too, I forgot.
but
There's
it's a
2
good
new
old one.
ones in the
It's one
back.
of the old heavy old ones. So
Yeah,
you want to get rid of it
Dale's is one of those heavy good ones.
and you want to get rid of it?
Heather's is not good. It's a junky one, kind
It's
of.
junk.
Yeah, like that particle board. You know,
Yeah, those won't
I
last very
understand.
long.
it's.
So you're looking for a couple of desks. And
Mm-hmm.
you may be able to find
Yeah,
adequate replacements or not. Okay.
yeah.
But you need them.
Mm-hmm. At least one. And I know we're poor, so one would be okay, you know. I don't want to be extravagant or
Okay.
anything.
Do we want to put that money in the budget?
It already
or-
is at the budget.
Okay.
It's already been added on
Okay.
this side that
Let
that
me
were
look
included.
for sure. but
Yeah.
It is-
On,
The four-wheel drive vehicle is not. included
Yeah,
yet.
the
right.
vehicle's not.
And so there's a possibility that you can find them somewhere else and not use that line item.
Yeah.
But you'll know.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then you want raises for your people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, and then actually, like since last year, I have 2 more people.
That need raises. 2 different people or 2
No,
more people?
where's my stuff?
And JJ, I don't think we told you whenever we started is we are on Zoom.
Oh, no.
So everything you say is public.
Okay.
Thank you for,
And so be careful about using.
Were you worried that I was gonna start
No,
cussing it up?
it's sometimes people, if they don't know, they just
No.
may
I
say
hate
more
that.
than what's really.
I
I
don't
know, I
know where
do
the
too.
camera is
It's
either,
right
but.
there. in front
It's
of
right
you.
here.
Okay.
That's why it's a secret.
it's
where the
looking in
camera
your
is.
right ear.
You see that little
Is he
eyeball
looking
right
at
there?
my fluffy hair today? Okay.
Okay.
Well, I moved Logan to an appraiser training. That's another thing I need to do next year is send a couple people for some training if.
If they open up.
Yeah, I mean, they did sign up for a class in January, so maybe it's gonna get better. And we're supposed to have an in-person conference.
Are there
In
online
December.
trainings available?
Yeah, but they fill it like that.
Oh,
So far, we aren't fast enough usually to get
how
on
can
them.
they fill up? It's not like the room is full.
Well, but
I don't understand.
I don't know, Dale took USPAP yesterday and you still, like, they're asking you questions and you have to do the same thing and you have your little groups that you have to do the quizzes and stuff, and it's the same,
Okay.
but you're just at home or wherever you're doing it.
Now, how many people do you have in your office?
6 with me.
6 with you. So you've
Mhm.
got 5 staff.
Mhm.
I'm just going. 2,
And there's 3 of them that, well, Dale's an appraiser and the other 3 need to be.
uh-huh.
And then Maria does the administrative stuff and she has no desire to be an
An
appraiser.
appraiser. But Logan's going to be an appraiser.
Mhm. And Heather.
So you
Thank-
need to bump them up on the.
I already did Logan. And then you don't get another bump until you become an appraiser.
Okay, so what I have in the budget is pretty fairly accurate, because
Mhm.
okay,
I think so.
because I based it on what's happening
Yeah,
right now.
yep.
Okay. So you have 6 positions, and that's what was budgeted for.
Mhm. Including me?
Including you?
You're separate.
Well, you're separate.
Yeah,
You're on a
I
separate
am.
line.
You are
Yeah.
separate,
Special,
but
yeah.
you're including.
Okay.
6.
Um, And then, you know, the postage goes up a lot next year because it is a reappraisal year. The postage and the printing, that line item goes every other year goes up quite a bit.
So we've got 4,500.
I think that should make it because in 19 we used 40, almost 4,200. So I'm thinking that should be enough.
So do you pay it
Um,
like once a year or something? Because
We-
you haven't used it yet.
Well, on this year I did use it because I barely had any in there this year because we only send notices out to people that did new construction or changed their property in some way.
So you have you refilled your postage machine? Because it's so zero activity through August.
Are you
Oh
using
no, it came out like in when did it come out?
September or something? like that?
Yeah, because I was
Okay.
kind of arguing with the.
Do you use the
paid
postage
place.
machine? for-
Yeah,
for that?
no, I have to send that place a check or use my credit card.
With the post office?
The
No,
place
the
that
the
mails
printing
The
place
printing, so that
puts,
doesn't come off the postage machine.
no, it can't, but I took it out of that line item.
But you have your
Yeah.
own, she has her own postage machine, so you don't use ours,
No,
right?
I use yours.
Okay, well then,
She has
But-
for the little stuff, but
For
for
the
that,
little stuff, we come up here, but for the big stuff, they have their own stamp and we just pay them and then we get a rate if we have the addresses checked through USPS
see.
or whatever.
Okay, does this account for the increase in the cost of, because postage went up? Is
It's
it
50
55?
cents, but we get
postage
We
now?
get some kind of deal with the mass
Right.
mailing.
And,
bulk
but I'm
mail.
assuming that went up also.
Mhm.
And
I
so-
think that the 45 should cover it.
Okay.
If not, we just won't
and
buy
the
all the
45 would
supplies.
cover what you do up here and the
Well,
notices.
I don't pay anything when we come up here.
she's in the
Right?
general fund.
Hmm?
She's in the general fund.
Oh,
Yeah.
We only charge other funds. We don't charge ourselves.
Oh, okay. So you're your own department, but you're in the general. fund.
Mhm.
Lucky you.
Yep.
Okay.
And I don't know, this year I really seem like I paid a lot with the GIS stuff. But we cleaned up Monte Vista with that 4,500 that came out last month. So Monte Vista's a lot cleaner. We just need to keep doing stuff like that.
And that
But I
4,500
did
was
figure
where?
I figured it into this.
you're saying Monte Vista's
74.
cleaner, are you saying your
Like the
assessments for it?
GIS,
Okay.
Lining up the maps.
yeah,
But where was that in?
Is that your 74,000?
it's not in here, but yeah, it's in the
74? So it's
74,000.
under computer services, I guess, is where she went.
Yeah, or professional services. Let me see where I
Well,
put
you
it.
got professional service for 46,500 and 21 budget, and then computer services, you have 74,000.
Yeah. It was the
Because isn't your computer services your lease payment to
Tyler?
Tyler?
Mhm. So I think we have 2 more years on that.
And that should
And
be the
then that-
60 whatever, and so like the
Yes.
65, so it's
It's
another 10,000.
50,000 a year for the lease payment, I think. And then it's $12,000 to use it.
So you're 62,000 a year on Tyler right now.
Mhm.
In a couple of years, the 50,000 that'll drop off.
Yes. 50,504, and then the using it is 17,530. And I put the GIS in the professional services line item.
Okay, that makes sense. Who does that for you?
Sidwell. And they were bought out by Harris. So I think that
Is
it'll
it still
come
going well with you?
Sidwell. It was a little on the shady side for a second, but it's gotten better. They've kind of lined out, I think. So seems good now.
Armando.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's- Okay, so whatever it came out in the $68,000 is pretty much Tyler.
Yeah, 50,000 plus 17. So yeah,
Okay, so we're showing another 9,000 in the 21 budget under computer services. Like over that.
yeah. I added all the WSB stuff in there too. that usually I just find somewhere to take it out of. There's like a $1,700 BEEAM. I don't know, all of the cloud stuff too is in there.
How are you? Long time no see.
I'm fine, you thanks.
We always talk to her.
We were concerned, Ramona.
So that's okay that the WSB stuff's in there, right? It's all
Yeah, 'cause
computer
it's-
services.
Yeah, because we all. Mhm.
So
Okay.
that's self-explanatory. So you want 2 desks and a vehicle at the end of the day, and you think.
I
you're
would
close to
not
that.
want desks if I could get a vehicle.
Oh, you'd trade out the other.
Well,
desk.
we've already.
Well, we want to
we've
get you a
already
desk
had
and
the
forget the
discussion.
vehicle, so, I
know.
mean,
Yeah.
we're willing to work it with you. Yeah, we're working on it.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have any further questions.
Looking to see if there's something else. It says furniture and equipment. That's your
That's
desk,
the desk.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need anything else.
You're pretty in good shape.
Mhm.
Do you need more masks?
I don't think
Thank you very much.
that is a bad question to ask me when we're on a Zoom meeting. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
JJ.
you.
Is that your red pen?
Yes. Thank you.
Have a great
Now we
day.
gotta
Yeah,
jump down to pest/weed. Which is which?
Armando's the pass,
Oh,
right? Is that what we were saying?
Depends what day it is.
And for full disclosure, we are on a Zoom meeting, so everything you say is being seen by the public.
Is anybody
No
on?
matter where you sit.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't got to see you since I heard. So.
How are you?
So everybody.
Knows about it.
I was gonna say, what do I?
No. My computer is just not liking me right now. I'll pick it up and throw it out the window, so I go to her office a lot.
Is that a new ring?
Sure is.
She didn't tell me either.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I was cut.
Who cares about this?
Doug told me.
Yeah.
Doug announced it.
I see her every day.
Not every day.
Okay. Based on the request, there's not any big request in there. is there?
Except for this year.
This year,
Yes.
we're not talking about this year, we're
Yeah,
talking about next year.
I think his budget went down compared to last year, and I'm concerned that it went down so much. So your salaries, are you gonna work with less employees or?
Same amount of employees, same. They come back.
But
I'm planning on it.
it was quite a bit over budgeted the year before.
In 2020?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it was what 98,000 budgeted.
95.
95, yeah.
Mhm.
So
And you're
it's-
going with 45? Well, I'll have to put in, but about 45, I think.
48, I think is what we turned in.
48.
Yeah, I haven't put those in because they're looking at COLAs and merit raises, so
Okay.
I wanted to wait till we do that. But right now you have 45,000 in there.
And the board stipend is up $200. Are we increasing that amount or?
no, it's because we
Reba.
had several meetings that we had to do Zoom and we were trying to find bodies and stuff. There was one or 2 months in a row, we had like 2 meetings per month.
Well, what was budgeted in 20 was 4,000 and what was used in 19 was 1,300. And so it went from 1,300 to 4,000 approved in 20.
So we just did
I used
flat 7 board members times $50 a meeting times 12 meetings just to have monthly meetings.
Uh-huh. And
Just
so
to make it
the-
simplified.
Where it uses a lot less is a bunch of them aren't showing up.
Yes.
Okay,
Not
Or
bunch,
they're
but a
not
couple.
having the monthly meetings. I think this year they had fewer meetings.
Yeah, we had fewer
because-
meetings and we were short 2 people a couple different
Yeah.
times.
Yeah,
Harvest.
Everything going on, so yeah.
That explains this year, but 2019, I'm guessing.
I wasn't around.
You weren't, so.
so you don't know. And you weren't around either, were you?
not really. I think that they probably had less meetings.
Okay. Okay.
Because I just know they had fewer meetings there at the end of Brianna's terms.
So your professional services went down. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, I fired the flagging lady.
The flagging ladies, that was a big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
Critters
20,000,
or whatever it was.
24,000.
Mhm.
It was not an easy deal. She made my life, but it's still.
But you got it done.
But also I did another one, chemicals.
I noticed that too.
How'd you save on chemicals?
I followed the label.
Hmm?
I followed the label.
Yeah.
Which
Use
came different
use the
use.
right amount.
What a concept. I see that on our revenue side, CDOT weed control. We didn't have anything budgeted for that for 2020. We spent 10,000. Previous year was 54,000. Oh, that's revenue.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that contract's fixed also. I should have had more, but that contract was done, but I fixed it.
Okay, so what's it gonna be for 2021? 20,000?
27-ish. For the
Well,
first
you're
part.
showing 20 on the budget,
But it's-
but
it's-
if
yeah,
it-
it's
if it
same
comes
thing.
out more, it's better.
No, because they're in the end of June, so I still have 27,000 for for springtime spraying, then renew the contract with CDOT again for.
Right, for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
last year. Okay, we don't have a line item for ish.
I got-
Well, we under budgeted so that it would be a good thing if we got more than that, I guess.
Okay, that
So
explains that.
the Colorado, the revenue for the Colorado Department of Agriculture, 20,000. Could you tell me what that is?
So that's the CDA grant. And so this year we have 21,000 coming in. And so dependent on state funding, we'll know about that grant in March or April.
So is that the grant that you took over?
Yes.
So this is just our portion that we're getting back, because we're not going to be the fiscal agent on that one. Okay.
So we'll be getting a portion back, but have not received it through August.
I don't know if I've received all of it, but we.
So what we did this year is we, with all the income, we basically, like with the spraying contracts, we charged half because it's a 1-to-1 matching grant.
Mhm.
So the county will get reimbursed 21,000 at the end of the year when all that grant money comes
So this will
back
come
in.
in year end.
Yes.
And it was a very popular program, looking to get bigger.
So on your custom spraying, I noticed that you reduced it a little bit from 80 to 60, which if you look at the history, we've only collected like 17,000 through October. Are we still running short on collections?
No, we're 30,000, 36,000 still waiting, coming in.
Just
This is on
hasn't come in.
custom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be CDOT was,
Well, see, that would go into this line item.
right. But
this
that's
would be
13,000
custom.
more. And then we have the refuge, wildlife refuge, which is 7,000 and a few other smaller ones.
So you anticipate receiving 60,000 for 2020 or
75,000.
80,000?
It's around 53,000
Yeah,
total.
I think what they budgeted for last year in custom spraying was 80,000. For
Well,
this year, I mean.
the contracts were so far off as bad deal when they're fixed now, 100% where they should be.
You're saying they're corrected.
Yes,
When you say they're fixed, it
Yeah.
sounds like
Oh,
shady
no,
stuff, right?
no. It's corrected.
Okay.
It was a lot of hard work, but we did it.
Got it done. Okay.
Good job.
So we're looking at 60,000. This is the question you're asking, 80,000 versus 60,000.
And they
on
anticipate getting 53 this year is what I understand.
53.
Plus the 15 that we've already got.
So-
No, that,
Or is that
total.
included
Yeah.
in there? Okay.
So the 80,000 anticipated was.
Was overestimated.
Which was under different management. So.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We understand.
Yeah, I think it was kind of,
Yeah.
last year. It was a
Last year,
nightmare.
this year, you know.
We're all trying to get the budget done.
So that reduces our revenue budget But you're gonna make up part
All right,
Some other
yes,
contracts.
yes. I got some
offset.
big stuff coming in.
But it's not, is there some that's not reflected on the budget because it's not, that you're not completely sure of it, or is it all reflected in the budget?
Next year's gonna be better because like the contracts are up to date will be where I could get the money out of the contract instead of doing free work. CDI was pretty much did for free the first time I go around, and then the second time I go around, I'm gonna actually make some money on it. And then I got some huge contracts, like $10,000 contracts coming in. When I worked with the fire, the gun club, I got some big contracts coming in for next year.
And those have become under custom spraying.
Yes,
That will
And
be
that's part of the 53
custom
and custom.
springs that'll-
So that's already.
And you
Yeah,
say
it's still
Department of Ag,
60,000, yeah.
maybe go up, Colorado Department of Agriculture.
we're hoping, but the grant,
The grant,
that's always a hope.
I would anticipate.
So
about the
this is a
same.
hope.
Yeah,
on that
I mean,
stuff.
grant is another 100% because of the virus. They're taking money from everywhere.
Yeah.
And we hope we don't get hit with it, but it's always a possibility.
They may dip into some of these
Yes.
funds.
As it stands right now, they're reporting that they think they're probably gonna have it.
The
but
same amount,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, same amount, so.
But I mean, that depends if they
Yeah.
award it to us or not too, so.
Yeah.
Can you tell me why the chemical applicator insurance went down? I think we talked about that. When
Yeah,
you-
this
are you a
is,
different
this is an
company?
easy one.
I pretty much said hi to her and then they dropped us. And then I went to the next company and all the companies dropped us. And then finally I got CIA, what does it say? Almost
Is it Dell's?
Dell's to insure us. The first year is this, but then they're gonna want some of the pie. Next year, there's gonna be an audit. You know, there'll probably be a likely increase.
So did you allow for that in the budget for next year?
Yes,
The 30,000, that 3,000?
yes, that's why that's why that number's bigger.
Okay.
We didn't know exactly how much they're.
And it's still less than it was before.
Right.
Right.
Because it looks like in 2018, it was around $5,000. Okay, good.
Now, these numbers that go in here now are numbers that are actual working numbers that are really
That's
looked
good.
at. Beforehand was, this is what I think I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna add 20,000 to it. And this is what it could cost, I'm gonna add 20,000 to it. And I'm gonna use 5 times the spray and blah, blah, blah. So
Okay,
that's
what
been
you
the big
want.
difference to the.
I did leave a lot extra money in case I do get bigger contracts for the chemicals if I need it. So I mean, if I do get bigger, there's room to get bigger.
Yeah, this pest district thing could really blossom this next year.
It could be a revenue source for the
Yes.
county.
Make some money for us. Huh? That's good.
You
That's
know,
what we want.
I haven't got no contest letters from my competitors, umbrellas and co-ops saying, go ahead and do it. We don't want to. We don't want to do it. And I went to other companies and they said, go ahead. So no one's mad at me.
Good.
Not
Well,
There's no
interrupting private
capital
business.
request this year then, huh?
We were trying to get a mule four-wheel ATV, a second one to replace that. Brianna bought a little four-wheeler and it was too light for what it did. Had problems with it. It was brand new. They're gonna let us trade it back in and give us an X dollar amount on it. But we can't get the mule now until maybe March.
If we order it 2 months, 2 to 3 months, depending on the virus, if it keeps getting worse or better. I mean,
Yeah,
right now it's 2 to 3 months out.
2 to 3 months out, and they're not, and that's a guess. That's all it says. But when I asked you this morning about that's why I was asking about that dollar thing, because we don't show anything left in there to do it for 2020. So it's gonna have to become a 2021 item request.
So that's
we
not,
do-
is that in here?
And since we're gonna since we'll be purchasing it in 2021, it's probably just as well off to do it that way.
But
So
we
we
have
need
to
to add
add
that
it
in
in.
our.
But it's not showing up in here.
Yeah,
It's not-
it
gonna
hasn't
add
been presented yet because
I haven't seen the.
we were on hold. Well, we were on hold for 2 months with the company, just trying to get a price back from them while they were trying to get everything figured out. And I called every company there was to talk to them about.
They're about
different machines.
21,000, I think. so.
But there's not a,
No,
We get this,
gonna
after
add-
trading, this is gonna be about
13,
11,000.
yeah, 11,000.
but there's nothing showing in capital expenditures.
Right. You're gonna have to.
That's where that's gonna start
Add
showing that we
6.
gotta,
So we need to add that.
We probably ought
Yes.
to add it in right now, though.
11,000?
I can't know that. I have the
I think what we
I'm
ought,
kind of thinking maybe put 15 if you think it's gonna be
spray
11.
tank.
I wanna make sure we cover it. So let's put 15 in there. That was the number I was gonna use. And that'll cover the machine If it requires an extra, the tank, yeah. And then maybe even a trailer. We're not sure about the trailer yet because we got a couple small ones we might do some horse trading with or whatever, but maybe a trailer, and a trailer is $1,800-$1,900, something like that.
And
So
the sprayers,
that'll be,
do they have their own motor on them or do you have tap into the?
Those are electric. That's their own motors. I mean, there's not the motors that run off the electricity.
They have to run off the
Battery.
mule battery.
That's what I want.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
that's what I'm looking at. I'm gonna try to kind of set up to the Kubota. I'm having a lot of issues with my pickup trucks because I believe they were used on canal roads and the ditch roads, and I think that's where my suspension and my clutches are going out.
yeah, they ran that 4-wheel drive Dodge 1-ton heavy duty truck and down ditch banks and stuff like that, and wonder why the front end was out of it.
That was a Dodge.
And I did not allow that. I allowed nothing but 4-wheelers on the ditches.
All right, we're not talking about.
Yeah.
So we're gonna add 15,000 then for capital equipment purchases for a mule.
So that'll
and the tanks that
probably
go with it.
dip you into fund, the use of fund balance.
But you're gonna make up all that money. with these
I will try my
other-
hardest, I promise you. Yes,
Okay, and you were saying that you had been conservative in your estimates on revenue.
I think
Do
so.
you feel like you were $15,000
yes,
conservative in your estimate?
yes, I'm still working on new contracts right now.
And you didn't put them in here because you're not sure that they're
One
gonna
hundred
be
percent.
there.
Well, yeah, I got a town hall meeting the 11th. So to finalize it.
And so, but you feel like you're gonna have
That's the way to
more
do
than
it.
15,000 in revenue.
Yeah,
Yes,
Thank you. Okay,
I can actually ask a question, get an answer.
he doesn't want to commit.
This doesn't feel like the normal budgeting process. It went too quickly here.
Well, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Well, that means you had all the answers.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
my
my goal.
point.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
called
you're
your
down.
job.
Put it on my
Yeah.
computer. My computer's down, that's why I've been answering.
Well, you ordered it, didn't you?
Yes, it's on any day now.
Get it in there.
Everything is taking longer.
But you get what you want. You're doing a good job, sounds like. Is she keeping you on track in terms of numbers and stuff?
Yes.
Yes. I budget quite a bit.
He can't give a solid answer on anything
There we go,
else,
so
but
that's
that,
good.
it was a yes.
It's because she's got a whip.
Right now, we're working on the grant right now for next year.
How does that grant work? This is from the state?
Mhm.
or the
Colorado
feds?
Department of Ag.
And they just have the noxious weed program
Yes.
and you get money out of that.
Yeah, it's under the State Conservation Board,
Mhm.
pest district or pest section. And they have 750,000 for the whole state, so.
We've argued the last 2 years at our CDA meetings on it about how that's divided because, you know, we could spend whatever we want to spend on the botanical gardens in
Mhm.
Boulder,
Mhm.
but to kill puncture vine in the San Luis Valley, you can't get a grant for it. So we've been arguing on it. So we're I did have luck getting puncture vine moved up. It's moved
Did
up
you?
on the
Is that
species. So
go ahead?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm working on that next year really hard. That's gonna be
Yeah, that's. Yeah.
Big.
It hasn't hit my ranch yet.
I'll bring you some.
I'm
And
creeping in from Del Norte though.
am I correct that the story on that is you have to spray it several years in a row?
at least 7, and then you have to keep on top of it before the flowers, before it goes to seed. If it goes to seed, you just start all over.
You get it done doing you good at that point.
And then this place is known for wind.
Yes.
And
Blow
dogs.
down my place.
and-
Okay.
And the
Well, wonderful.
thought of more vehicles, a lot more people playing on 4-wheelers.
Oh, yeah.
That's
so
what's
they're
carrying the
picking
seed
it
around.
up, yeah,
Yep.
carrying it
The seed
around.
banks are being moved all the time.
Yeah. What do you use on it?
2,4-D work.
What do you work on it?
Yep.
So an individual can go out and spray it.
Yes.
If they found some.
A little bit of sticker, yeah.
And is it
But we don't
advised?
want to tell everybody that.
Why not?
Because it's
He
revenue.
doesn't have time.
This is the
to
one
do all of
department,
it.
this is the one department that has the potential to actually pay for itself.
Well, and I think it is. I
Yeah.
think it is that there was,
Quite a turnaround in that year, in that span.
Yeah.
Season. Not
there
even
was a
year, but
season that it was overspent, but I think it's back on track.
Yes,
Thank you.
and all my guys are coming back, I think.
They are.
Yes.
You didn't make them mad?
Oh, we had our little bit of disagreements. We worked it out like big boys.
Oh, you had a disagreement with somebody?
Never.
It's good to meet
Board?
people who can work like big
Weed
boys.
Thank you, Armand.
Yes,
Thank
thank you guys.
Thank
You
you.
guys did a great job. Thanks.
Okay, take it easy.
Yeah.
Mark.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Nikita, let's go home.
Okay, we'll do.
Congrats again.
Thank you.
How's Dad?
Good.
You good? I never get to see me anywhere, so.
Yeah, he's very antisocial.
Oh, is he? Well, last
Very
time
much.
I was talking to him, I think he was.
And always
eating
has
some kind of-
been though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's eating some kind of
Viruses
chocolate he
is-
didn't want to share last time I saw him. I think it was from Hawaii or something.
Oh, yeah, yep. I remember that one.
Thank you guys.
See ya.
See
Bye.
ya.
See ya.
Would you like me to see if Randy will come
Yeah.
on up early?
Sure.
Okay, pause things for the moment.
So we can talk?
No. And, back on the record and ready for
Okay,
building.
budget discussion still, and we are talking about the building department.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's everybody?
Good.
Good. So,
I gotta find the page.
you know, my budget is mostly salaries and the associated expenses with salaries. Everything else is pretty minor. I don't have any big capital expenditure requests for 21. Probably the most expensive piece of equipment I have in the department's the pickup. And it will be, I guess we'll have it 4 years in January. Got about 40,000 miles on it. It's out of warranty, but it seems good. This year in doing my budget, I reviewed a couple items that we just haven't been spending that kind of money on and reduced a couple of them. I don't remember which exact ones those were.
The telephone looks like it went down.
Debbie, what page is that?
Training went
Not
down.
training.
Oh, I'm
Seven.
sorry. Seven.
Page 7.
Oh, I just wondered.
Yeah, training, and frankly, training may not happen in 2021. I just took a survey here a couple weeks ago. The Colorado Chapter Education Institute, which I've attended for 16 years now. Due to COVID, they may not, well, they may have it online. So I don't know if there'll be a registration fee, but if they don't have it in person, there's not going to be
No
there's not going to be any travel expenses. So I don't know whether I think it's up in the air right now, kind of depending on how this COVID thing goes.
But I
So-
kind of think we need to anticipate that. Don't you believe is, because we don't know how long COVID will go on.
Well, we've
and
got
I think
$1,500 in there.
You need to kind of anticipate that we will have some trainings and that's one of those that you are required because you have to have.
Well,
certain number of
I'm
years.
required to accrue so many continuing education units over a 3-year period.
Oh, okay.
So by going every year, I exceed that. So I can live without it for a year. It's excellent training. It's the best training money can buy. But if need be, if a year gets skipped, I won't be in jeopardy with my
Is
certification.
the $1,200 we have budgeted, does that cover training?
That would still cover it, yes.
Even if.
It would cover that one,
Even if you went in person.
even if I went in person. There may be other training opportunities that come up. Occasionally they do, but that's kind of the big one.
All right, Randy, on your vehicle maintenance, you used about $170 this year. We got budgeted 20 or budgeted 2,000.
Yeah, so my thought process there was, the year before we put a new set of tires on. But if, I break a windshield or again, it's out of warranty. I mean, it would be easy to go over that 2,000 if I had to have a repair bill. So hopefully it doesn't get used, but
Just a safety net for it.
Are you
Yeah.
driving it more though because of the increased building permits?
probably not a lot more, some more, but it's hard to,
Because
Kind
you
of hard to
still
compare.
schedule, we just go to Monty one day and. do
exactly. So
everything.
I'm over on the east side of the county that day. Well, I do now maybe 6 where I did 3 before. So yes, probably a little more.
But it's not
But-
like a trip for you.
It's not like, yeah, we're double, triple our mileage now or anything like
I mean,
that.
yeah, triple your mileage for Sky High.
Okay, on a big project like Sky High, do you have to do it where it's out of your normal schedule? Where you may have to go do that one where you would normally be on the west side of the county, that maybe they're more urgent or something, or not?
So what I do, and it seems to work pretty well, is we will schedule, okay, Del Norte's, we're about in the middle of the county here. We'll schedule east one day, west the next day. So most everybody's on board with calling a day or 2 ahead of time before they need things. So that works pretty well. There's exceptions to every rule. You get a holiday in the week, well, that just throws it all off, or whatever. But for the most part, that's kind of how I work it. And it works fine. So no, I haven't made special trips, but I mean, I make trips every day, one direction or the other.
So if the holidays are messed up your planning, do you want to just go and work then?
Okay, so I did get approved to be off next week. I don't know if anybody knows that,
Well,
but you may see Ken around here next week. And yeah, and snowstorms, the September one, I mean, we're doing foundations and we got the whole, half the week already scheduled. And then people start calling in Monday morning. No, don't. And just,
Shifting the whole.
yeah, so you got to be really flexible with the schedule and just roll with the flow, but do it long enough, you kind of get a feel for what works.
So basically, we're sitting pretty close to what we were in terms of your budget.
Yeah, I don't know what the insurance and salaries, that's out of my wheelhouse, what you're doing there, but as far as everything else, yeah, same. And I looked at our revenues just for fun this morning, on our building permit revenues only. We're at 132,325.91. And probably by end of next week, that's going to go up several thousand. We've got, at least 3 projects that are ready to go out next week. Couple new houses and a warehouse addition here in Del Norte. And I've got 2 others that are under review yet this year, and they just seem to keep coming in. They don't,
Well, I was looking, building permit fees in previous years, 90,000, 96,000, 94,000 for 2019. And as of August, we were at 80, so we
Right,
had
so I
a big
reduced
bump.
it, and that's the question I need to ask you is, what do you anticipate so I could get it? Because right now, as of October, we're at 120,000.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't anticipate this year, you know, especially the way the year kind of started out. But I really believe that next year will be probably comparable to this year. Occasionally you get a project like the Sky High project that's a pretty significant fee that, you know, you're probably not going to get next year. So, I mean, that can make a 20 some odd $1,000 difference. So it's really hard to project, but then again, we may get some other big project. Right?
What do you think
But
is a good number? Because right now I have
Just a
95.
projection number, like a best guess.
Yeah, because right now we're at 95, and it looks like we've been running from 2018, 2019, about 95 too. But this year it's gone up.
Yeah, I remember past
That's
years where it
okay.
was well over
That's page
100,000.
one.
But I mean, I think I would, as a guess, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe like 130 to
For next year?
150, maybe at
We
the
can
You think
high
on
this-
the
end. This
conservative side, we want to be
conservative, maybe figure like 125.
there. Okay.
Because we're seeing subdivision applications, which I assume is going to translate to some buildings, some homes.
Well, and historically, this county really doesn't see this in the building world, the spikes and the lows
Right.
that the rest of the state or country tends to see. Now, this year has been almost what I'd call a little spike, but will it continue next year? You know, right now, building material, wood products particularly are extremely high. They've just gone up, I don't know, almost double.
Do we have a contractor in the area that's doing the spec building, spec homes?
The Amish,
Not a contractor, 2 of them in Monte Vista, the 2 behind Big R
Mhm.
are spec. I believe Brian Meloff owns that division and he's building those 2.
That's pretty nice.
There's some houses going up in South Fork in that subdivision along the river on 149, but it's in town, so I'm not directly involved in those. And I wonder if maybe some of those are.
That's the reason I asked. I know that they had a couple there, they didn't have signs around them. I couldn't really tell what they was doing. So, okay.
Yeah.
I have another question. So we're not doing plumbing permits anymore,
No.
right? Because I
Nope.
took that off. It was
Yep,
like
that's-
$12,000. So I removed
and you're
that.
happy about that, aren't you?
That was the saving grace this year for personnel. And it looks like we're doing okay on the fees. It just wasn't covering its cost of administration for one thing. And, you know, to keep doing it, you'd have to hire, I guess, a plumber to, you know, if you had to have additional help there with it, and they're not going to work for, you wouldn't be able to pay the salary.
It wouldn't pay for itself.
Right.
Sounds good. So basically no changes in here, right?
Not his budget. He has that $1,000 that he asked for furniture. No,
Well, yeah,
And what is that?
furniture.
Well, it's been in there. It
it's
looks
been
like
in there and
several years.
unused, huh?
I didn't see it. Let's see.
Well, we used it in 2018.
And so do you have something in mind for furniture?
I really need a chair, but not to the tune of
Just take that one
$1,000.
there.
That would be a really
Take the one
nice
with
chair.
I've been, I've always used hand-me-down chairs. I've never bought a chair in my
He has
office.
a bad back, so you need a good chair.
But I don't want to buy a chair that's uncomfortable. These aren't too bad.
Maybe you can just borrow. it
Whenever
when necessary.
DSS was getting rid of them, I'd go like get one, you know, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess it was in there. I've had it in there and probably haven't used it.
But
Well,
you
it says
might.
furniture and office equipment. I know what my thought was there. If we had a computer go down, and had to replace it in the middle of the year or something like that.
Mhm.
I think that's where I had a little cushion. I mean, we don't intend to buy new computers next year. Ours got upgraded to whatever the latest, is that
Windows 10?
Win 10? Yeah.
Windows 10.
But you know, they are older. They are like 8-10 years old.
You
I
need,
just
you
think
need to seriously take a look at a chair. Seriously, for you,
yeah.
get something that's good for your back and stuff.
Magic fingers or something like that.
That would be $1,000.
Probably should. So
Well, and I
I think
guess-
that's why I had $1,000 in there was, if, you know, if I didn't have money budgeted for a computer otherwise.
Do you
if
also
we
have
had to.
printers or that? kind of
Yeah, I would have
stuff
a
that might-
printer, scanner, copier thing that is fairly new.
Okay.
The computers are the oldest. I can't tell you how old they are, but
In your printing, so far this year, we haven't, or up to August, we didn't have anything, but
we
we're
should.
talking 1,000.
Yeah, so we did it, we ordered a bunch of printing since, I think this was generated in about late July or something.
Yeah, right now we have ours is for October. And printing you has, I spent $867.
Yeah, so that's our permit cards, our permit applications, our, all of our stuff from the printer. And printing's kind of expensive. The only other printing that we've ever, or other expense out of printing would be if we had to do an ad or something like that for a public hearing for something or another. Haven't had one of those for a while.
So what is it that you're thinking $1,000?
For the printing.
Okay,
And
and you think you'll use that?
He's already used 867
Oh,
this
okay,
year.
800, okay.
It
Yeah,
just
'cause on
doesn't show on
it
ours because
just-
this
it
is
shows
August
zero.
and she's got
Because
October.
ours is August.
Oh, I did October, I'm sorry. I did one
Okay.
today. You want
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. You can tell us. It's just,
Well, I don't,
think
you know,
you're
my
honest.
philosophy's always been budget more than you intend to spend so that you don't go over. But I know you're having to really cut this. So, I mean, I could probably shave 100 or 2 off there and try to hit it, but I don't know.
If you don't hit
it's
it
a round number.
dead center,
You know,
We'll just have to-
probably roughly 1,000 is probably fair for printing a year, I
All right.
think.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fine.
it was just a question because I had 0 for this year because it was August
Yeah.
and I saw 1,000. So
So typically in the fall is when we order office supplies, order print, you know, get our printing done.
Oh, okay.
So sometime in the fall is when we typically do that.
Sure.
That's just when we've done it.
That's a different kind of report. That's an income statement as of October, so that might be helpful.
it's by department.
Uh-huh.
The only thing that was new, I think, last year was the fees subscription line item. And that's for the surcharge fees on the septic permits. We got to send the state $20 per septic permit that we issue. We've had to do that for quite a while, but it was coming out of some other,
A revenue
Oh, it's just a
account.
new line item?
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it's not new, but it was new for last year, I guess.
Okay, so that's why it shows basically, well, 19, it was $200. And up to August, it's 240,
Yeah,
and you've got
I-
1,000 on
it-
there.
that changed in 19,
It was
probably
coming out of the
mid-year.
revenue account and we didn't want to
Okay.
show, we didn't want to reduce the revenue, we wanted to show that expense, so we started taking out the expense account.
Okay,
So I put $1,000 in there. That's a hard one to guess too.
Well, you're at 480 as of October.
Yeah, so that may be a little strong, but you never just, how
Well,
many,
none of them are so far out of whack that I think.
how many septic permits are you gonna do next year? Well, I don't know.
How many people you catch putting a barrel in the ground?
and so really, I think that's another one that your best guess is to just go with a round number and estimate and hope that you're close.
Yeah,
So
So it looks,
I don't know.
is there anything else out there? It sounds like we're pretty much on track, aren't we? The only thing is the stuff that you didn't calculate, which would be salaries and stuff like that, which would be a separate calculation for the total.
Yeah, unless something unforeseen happens, which
If
can
it's unforeseen,
happen.
how do you budget for it?
Exactly. Yeah, does gas go to $10 a gallon? Well, I don't know, I suppose it could. You know, does the motor fall out of the truck on the, I suppose it could. I don't expect that, but
That's okay. It's close
Yeah.
enough.
So I budgeted $8,000 for your septic tank fees. Does that seem reasonable? It looks like so far this year, we've collected 6,700. And in the past, in 2018, we collected 10,000, almost 11,000.
That's because I Jasper.
no, you know, the septic permit fees are $275, 20 of which we give to, or they're $275, $20 of which we've got to send to the state. So we get to a little over $250 a piece. But yeah, that's another thing that varies year to year. Especially like the repairs. And if we get a bunch of new construction, we'll have a bunch of them. So it's,
Well, in 18, it was 10. In 19, it was 7.
And now it's 6,700. So I'm thinking 8,000 is a good number.
yeah, probably.
That's all I have.
Yeah, all you can do is kind of average it, I guess. Now, again, we're in an uptick this year. And
I may not
so
be
we may
happy.
see a lot of septic systems for houses that are just starting now, you know, and after winter, we get into spring.
I think 8,000 sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I do too.
The golf course, you know, nothing's happened on the golf course for years, several years. I got 4 new houses right now, just on the South Fork, golf course. Another one waiting to go out. That'll be number 5.
Is that, they've forgotten the fires? 'Cause it's kind of that fire season kind of stopped everything up there. Didn't Texas decide they didn't want to live up there?
I think the recession around 08 is what really shut that down. And it just really, you know, hadn't come back. Hadn't been much for development there, but it's back. Yep.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Have a good day.
Mhm.
Glad I got back in time to be early. I just got back.
Always nice when that happens.
So we have 15 minutes until Stephen.
I sent Stephen an email saying come early if you can, but I'm not sure. how
No,
quickly
he's probably
he'll do
burying somebody.
that.
Short break.
I have maybe some questions more than discussion for you, but thinking through the technology piece, how are computer replacements planned for countywide? Is it sort of a department by department, somebody we expect to hear from saying, I may need a new computer? Okay.
Historically, that's what it's
I
been,
think
yeah.
that's something that it's not for this year, but to plan for down the road, look at a more comprehensive planning structure. It's easier if you've got one entity, which you have WSB doing it, and that's fine, they can do that. But probably my guess, without knowing, is that we are paying them to react to our requests. They are not being proactive and saying, here's what we expect you to need in the next 5 years. And we need that proactivity to pay attention to our network needs, to look at individual computers, all the little printers. If everybody's getting their own little printer on their desk, that may or may not be the most efficient way to manage printing.
Well, and I do know that that Dixie hooks up to our big printer in the administrative office. And I don't know how many people have that access, but I know that she does that because it's, you know, whenever she has to print large amounts, that it's less expensive to do it
And
that
those
way.
are the things we need to look
And-
at and train users around using.
Mhm.
And that takes a more proactive approach from your IT team.
Well, we've got Public Health is one where, when I was down there trying to print in Emily's old office, I was using her computer. It said it was talking to that printer in the corner, and it printed on one down in the main office. And I go, And then I said, how many printers do we have here? How many different brands of printers?
Mhm.
And I don't know how many we had.
And if it's been piecemealed over the years, that is why, that explains a lot of that. But I've seen a lot of cost savings in other entities around developing a more proactive approach to your IT needs and not necessarily just responding to every user who says, I need a new printer or a new machine. You're able to manage that a little more proactively.
Well, and I think too, is having the small printer at your desk is great for the momentary convenient
Sure.
thing. But I think it's also a good idea to do like that and be able to hook to a big
Right.
printer that
And
is much less
I know we
expensive to
all are
operate.
here with that printer,
Right.
but that's the question. Nobody really knows the answer to that without the comprehensive.
How many printers do we have in these offices?
I know there's one on my desk that I don't use often, and the big copier.
I have one in my
You've got
office.
one in your.
And
Okay,
Bobby
so
has one. I think
Bobby has one at her desk. We got the checks only printer and we have the big one. So there's
Debbie-
3 in
Deborah
Bobby's
probably
office.
has one
Deborah
too.
has one
I
too.
think every office
Every
has a
office
small one.
Probably,
So we're looking at
probably.
6 just in there.
And I
Among
really
4
think you
people.
need to look at that comprehensively.
Mhm.
It's not something we're gonna solve in time for this budget cycle.
Oh,
but
but it's a thought.
it's a thought for down the road. And really asking more of your, either this IT staff or, this is a really big organization not to have a dedicated IT person. So that's just my first glance thought.
Mhm.
And there's some things we can.
'Cause
talk about.
I bet you WSB gets called several times a week.
Well, and they are good and they're responsive and they know their stuff. So I don't want to belittle that in the process. But if we even had a single IT person here that could respond to the smaller things, it might be cheaper in the long run. Yeah. Just a thought. Should I?
You haven't heard from Stephen, have you?
No, I did not. And he's due here in 5 minutes, so 10 minutes, 10
10.
minutes. Let me go.
I
see if
forgot to
can-
bring the donuts.
I
Again,
know, I was waiting. on
again.
Yeah, we were all
Well, I
talking
can
about
tell
that
you,
earlier,
I
about
live
how
the furthest
disrespectful
away,
and irresponsible
Probably
that
have the
was.
most to do in the morning with the ranch. And it just slipped my mind.
Don't know what to tell you. I'm
And-
gonna put us on pause here. for
The
a minute.
emergency manager is supposed to be here at 11:15. I wonder if we should contact him and see if
That's-
he
We've got,
And we have Stephen.
Stephen is logged in.
Steve's in, okay, we can get him on. I want to find out where his
He's-
$26,000.
He's in the process.
That's what I was saying, there's really no information on that,
There we go.
$26,000, so I have the same question.
Back on, and we have our coroner with us.
Good morning, Stephen.
Hey, guys.
Okay. We're ready to start. Debbie, do you want to go over anything?
Okay, I got some questions, so I just want to make sure I budgeted enough positions. So I budgeted for your position and then 2 part-time, is that correct?
Yeah, so right now we have Dave, and Dave's on a salary, and then wanted the ability to have possibly 1 new deputy to kind of help out with things, and then and plus give Dave the ability to train maybe before he steps out here in the next year or 2 or whatever that looks like. But and help. Of course, now that we'll be doing having the ability there to drive to autopsy for us.
Okay, so I increased, based on your request, I added an additional 6,500 to your salary line item. Is that correct?
That's fine. Yep, that should cover what we need.
Okay, and Stephen, I may not have understood correctly. That other person is kind of a part-time as needed to drive to autopsy. Is that right?
That's right. That's time, and just kind of like you guys know, I do anywhere from 15 to 22 autopsies occasionally. And so it's kind of an on-call basis on that. And it will be just charged or paying by the trip is kind of how we'll do that.
Okay. So just to be clear to everybody, so you increased your salary budget, but you reduced your mileage for your autopsy by 4,000, right?
That's correct. Yes. Tried to kind of balance it out that way a little bit because we're not going to be paying, the current contract at this point. We'll discontinue that contract and we'll be taking the responsibility for transportation.
And then you increased your gas by 1,000 to allow for those additional transports.
That's correct.
Okay, so my next question is you requested $26,000 for capital expense. Can you explain to us what the request is for?
Oh, you know what? That carried over from the truck and the topper. So I don't have any capital expense requests this year.
Another $2,600.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Don't apologize. Don't apologize.
Okay.
We're happy with that one.
Stephen, I'm always happier if you're dead on with the numbers instead of overinflating them and then making us feel good whenever you take it back.
Oh,
Dead on.
Dead on. Oh, another day. It's hard to not have puns when we're talking to you. I'm sorry.
I understand. That's okay.
I see your pathologist is budgeted, well, it's the same as it was budgeted this year. Are there increased, you just expecting more?
Yeah.
You just have more or having to pay more for what we use?
Well, they increased their, by autopsies and the toxicological, tests and things that they do. So, Commissioner Oscar, that's a hard one just because I don't know how many autopsies I'm going to do in a year. So it's a guess. At this point, as coroner, I haven't touched anywhere near $30,000 yet. But we could have one of those years where I do. And so I traditionally like to maybe leave it where it is just for the safety aspect of it.
Sure. And then dropping down to supplies of any kind, have you had to buy anything extra because of COVID this year?
No, COVID testing, I got some tests from the Department of Health. So they've been really, really gracious to share those with me. And I mean, we maybe purchased, I know we purchased some new body bags and things towards the beginning of the year. That was kind of in anticipation of COVID and being prepared if we needed to be. Other than that, we haven't really stepped out too much outside of the norm of what we're used to. Do you have an idea of how many more body bags you purchased and what that cost might have been? I'm trying to think. I think I purchased 50. And I think it might have been $18 a bag. Let me see if I can do some rough math here.
Well, you're showing
Yeah.
a total up through August of expenses spent of $2,029.
So of that, roughly $900 was body bags.
Okay.
And about how many of those body bags did you buy in anticipation of COVID?
Based on COVID, we could probably say that I purchased probably 25 just due to preparation, just for, because we were worried about mass fatalities. We were worried about some of those things. And so we wanted to be prepared.
We don't care. We just want to know if they were COVID.
Well,
Sure.
and for my purposes, whether they were purchased after March 1st or not.
March 5th or March
March
1st?
1st.
March 1st.
Okay. That I may have to
We
look
should
into.
talk separately from budget because we might be able to have some reimbursement coming for that.
Okay, sure.
Okay, but nothing else because you've been stealing masks and test kits from us.
That's right.
Okay.
And the sheriff is on here, so.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
On the coroner supplies in 2019, you had
Yes.
almost 6,000. In 18, you had 4,000. Were those just excess supplies? You just haven't had that much this year, or
Yeah.
was that normal, or is this normal?
No, I think this is probably more closer to normal, what we're seeing now. The reason being is, I think the years past, we purchased new stretchers. We purchased, we made some big purchases that weren't capital expenses. They were under the $5,000, but just to kind of get everything where we needed to be. So I think this probably is a little bit closer to what we should see, as we move forward. I do want to, if you don't mind, I do want to take a minute and publicly, with you guys involved, I want to thank Rio Grande Hospital. They actually donated to us a power cot, very similar to what the ambulance uses. Arlene Harms and the directors at the Rio Grande Hospital donated to us a power cot. So we did have to just purchase some batteries. That came, I think, close to $450 for the batteries for it. But that cot itself, I think, looking at a used one, they're anywhere from about $4,800 to $6,000 new. So, and they just donated it to us. So I do want to let you guys know that, and I want to thank Arlene Harms and the directors at the Rio Grande Hospital for that. That was huge. So their graciousness in allowing us to do that saved us some money on that side. And with those power cots, it minimizes the amount of lifting that we have to do. They're all automated, and they're really helpful in certain circumstances. So want to let you guys know.
Cut the labor down then?
I'm sorry.
Can we cut down the labor expense because we got the cot?
Yeah, we can try.
Thanks for letting us know that. That's neat to have that and have it public too, so.
And it is
Yeah.
really nice that we have that kind of a relationship with the hospital, that we can work together.
Yeah, it was really kind of them. I think they had two that were sitting in a storage room, and they graciously donated one to the coroner's office. So we're thankful for that.
So your barrel expense, you didn't have anything in your budget for this year, but you added 5,000 for next year. Is that going to be enough? 5,000?
Yeah, I think so. This is such a hard, it's such a hard topic to talk about, and it's hard to guess, what we're going to have and what we're going to need. I think probably if we put 5,000 in there, I mean, I would hope that would be what we need. But if we have multiple circumstances, or, whatever happens in the future as we run into these things, and I pray that we don't run into them more often, but if we do, we'll have to kind of adjust. I feel like, if we wanted to put more in there, we could, but I know that right now things are tight, and, we want to try and work within reasonable bounds. And so I feel like this might be reasonable for now, but if we get in a pinch where, we have two, or we have multiple, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can kind of take your guidance on that. I just was trying to be modest in the amount that I put there, just, because we don't know. We might have none for the next 3 years. I don't know.
2018 and 2019, you had none, and then in
Yep.
2020, you had almost 6,000.
We had two indigent burials. And, you know, if you were doing your job, Steve, you would do a demographic assessment of Rio County.
Yeah,
I
that
think
would
the
be
graphics already
interesting.
exist, but this might be a different set of demographics.
Well, what we're looking at is, though, just like we had in Home Lake, where they may or may not qualify for VA benefits, or if we have some aging drug dependent people. You know, I mean, it's just,
Yeah, the hard,
no, you're not gonna go out and do a body count. Excuse me, you're not gonna do a nose count. But
Ask everybody how they're feeling.
yeah.
the hard part with this one is that, you know, what potentially could happen is it's really not the demographic side of it. It's more the legal next to kin. Where is family located? Do we know who family is? You know, and those end up being more case by case. I don't think there's a case study that we can do without going door to door and asking people who their emergency contact is. I don't know that there's a legitimate case study that would give us an answer to that question. You know,
Your biggest one would be the nursing homes, you know, elder care type facilities would be the closest.
Yeah. Other counties see it though as transient individuals that come through the county. You know, Alamosa, especially based on the you know, the Puente and things like that, it's more transient individuals that are the indigent cases traditionally.
We just keep them in Alamosa County.
What's that? Yeah. So.
No dropping.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I have.
I think we got it, Steve. Thank you on the 26,000.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Have a good day.
See ya.
Yes, ma'am. You too. Bye.
So now, see, 15,000, 26,000, are we?
We're getting close,
It's getting better.
except for that 70,000 that you might carry over, but.
Cool.
Okay, we're waiting for Art. Is he gonna join by Zoom or in person?
He was planning to come in person.
But you can't get a hold of him.
No,
Short
but
answer.
it's 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Just
You
say
need to take
no.
a break?
That's all you
I
gotta
just
do
said
is say no.
I just said no.
Well, I guess we can just take another break.
You can take another break. Is there anything worth talking about? Yeah, are you to the point yet where you want to talk about future dates for some of these?
For some of the other ones,
Mhm.
the ones we
So
haven't covered.
let me kind of give you a rundown of what you have coming up. On Monday, you have land use, road and bridge, veterans.
Have you
and
sent that to us?
museum. I did, but I'm gonna send you an updated one because things are changing by the minute.
So we have land use,
Land use, road and bridge, veterans, and museum.
So we need to, we're gonna have to have about 2 hours set aside for the veterans.
I gave him 15 minutes.
That's way too long.
I'm looking at
he
you.
he
like,
could
are you
call in for
serious?
that one.
I told him either Zoom or in person was fine, so.
Land use is gonna needs a vehicle. I don't even see it on her request. Road and bridge, he's got forklifts and
A little more to talk
capital
about.
equipment.
I've got him down for 30 minutes.
So the land use can't use the shared fleet that would use that you live.
We're,
Land use is, that's the intent is using the fleet, yeah.
that would be if we could split it between assessor and land use might work out well.
Except I think if it's in indirect as fleet, then if somebody else needs it, they can use it. But it's not just limited to them.
No, we can limit it. We can say we're buying it for these two departments.
But I'm saying it would be nicer if you had it where if you needed it for another department, that it's not unavailable.
And I did check with both your clerk and your treasurer, and they said, thank you so much for the invitation, but they did not feel the need to take your time. They did appreciate the invitation, both of them. Your DSS and public health probably are gonna be some time.
Well, I'm looking at DSS And a lot of questions are starting to emerge there because she's hammering us legitimately because her reserves keep dropping about 200,000 a year. And we're down to what, 450,000 in her reserves right now. And she wants her mill levy back to 2.5.
Well, no, I think it's 0.3. I think it's 0.3.
She's at 2.3, isn't she? She wants to go to 2.5.
Right.
Okay. And
Which I think that amount comes out to, is it like 70,000 or something?
it barely
I did
moves
do
the
a
needle
calculation on it.
Yeah,
for what
it's-
she needs.
It's not much.
And then we've got the risk of one of those programs may fall under the county. She was warning us that the state would funding it. And so that's going to be a conversation. I'm concerned on the public health side. It's going to take some time. Perhaps I have to work with Dr. Vancouver. You got to go through the grants and show, he has to get a clearer view of how they've been funding that department, because the little bit of money we put in there, 10% of the total budget, doesn't cover anybody but him.
You guys ready for the next one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Come on in.
Who we got?
Should be.
Art, you got 15 minutes and you'll get a raise if you don't take it all.
Oh, I'm done.
So's your raise.
So there's all that money back from his budget, right?
Go ahead and shut that. And Art, for full disclosure, we are on Zoom, and so the world is watching.
Very
Being
good.
recorded.
How y'all doing today?
Good. Okay, I gotta switch back and forth here.
Page 13 in the book.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at
15.
his
Oh,
request on
I
the
have
front
13 in
page.
this book, and
He's got one in
9
here
on
to 35 hours a week.
9 on this.
oh, I have the notes on mine, so nice. Not the same.
And then, okay. What was the page again?
13 on this one and 9 on this other document we have.
We have to keep. Check, okay. Debbie, do you want to open the
Okay,
ball?
so, your budget was decreased overall based on, I guess it looks like a variety of stuff by $8,000. Is that, was that your request, or is that what you and Suzanne talked about?
Well, that was something that Ms. Benton and I had spoken about. There were some things in there that I didn't feel that I needed in the budget and could use elsewhere. And then some of that money just didn't show back up in the budget because I forgot to add like $3,000 as a ballpark for a new emergency manager's radio, which is going to mirror the sheriff's office radios in order for us to be compliant. The change in the radio system, the radio I have now will not work when the change goes. So working on MAC channels with other counties and everything, I need an upgraded radio.
So that $3,000 would go into your equipment under 5,000. You currently have 1,000 in there, so would you need an additional 3,000?
I would like to see an additional
Make
$3,000
a
in.
total of 4,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the other 1,000 for?
The other 1,000 was for just upkeep on like the printer and things like that that I use for the computer.
So you'd be maybe purchasing another printer or something like that?
In the event, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Now, are you using your own or are you using?
No, I'm using the one that was given to me when I started here, Nikki's old printer.
Okay, so it's county printer.
Yes.
So we include, I guess you wanted to increase your hours per week. We have not included in that budget.
Right. I'm currently, due to my fire department retirement and the South Carolina guidelines, I'm on a salary cap where I can only make, $29,819 above my retirement. So I crunched some numbers, and if I went to 33 hours a week, the reason I want to increase my hours is 20 hours a week is not enough to do my job and do it correctly. There's a lot going on. This past year when I came on has been 75 to 80% directed towards support of COVID. So I'm really behind the gun.
We're gonna have to have that conversation separately.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Your
No,
COVID
no,
support.
no,
that's
no,
fine.
it's not a bad thing.
That's just
Oh.
additional
My,
conversation
my ears perk
in
up
another
because there may
venue,
be, there may
just
be
because
some-
you only have 15 minutes.
Right, okay. I'm just telling you why.
No, that's fine.
Anyway, I could move to 30 to 33 hours a week comfortably, not cover my cap. It's gonna take me quite a bit of time to get caught up on what I should have been doing throughout the year. That I've been balancing with the COVID issue and all that. So to serve the county and the people and y'all, I definitely need to increase my hours
To 33?
to 30 to 33.
Okay. Whenever you go over 30, then you become full-time and we have to give you benefits. I'm not
I
sure that.
don't know if it's 30 or 32. I can't
It's
remember.
But we
32.
need-
It's
Is it
32.
32? Okay, and so maybe we should keep it under the 32. So go 31 and a half or something along that line. Because I don't think we even have an option of saying I think you can decline
You can
it.
decline it if you
But
want.
like the retirement, I don't think you have an option on that,
No, I think that's mandatory.
that's
So you said
mandatory.
30 to 33. So if we just went 30 and make a flat number.
A flat number will work
Yeah.
for
But
me.
this year, you've exceeded that in some weeks.
Yes, sir.
So what does that do to us?
Well, right now, I was looking at his budget, he will be over budget. His
Not
department.
over budget. Does it make him full-time?
I don't, that would be an HR question.
No.
And-
There's a look back period and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's like for 4 months straight.
Okay,
Did you do
if,
it 4 months straight?
if
Okay.
that is
We
exceeded
We've got an
in,
issue. We got to
We
deal
should
with
be
it.
talking about.
if that is exceeded in overtime, does that fall under the same rule?
Overtime's a separate consideration.
Overtime is 40, over 40. If he goes to over 32, he's full-time. Forget the overtime
And
calculation.
it's health insurance that it triggers, not overtime.
Overtime is paid out.
Overtime is triggered
Always
over
paid,
40.
whether you work, if you work over 40 hours, we have to pay you. It doesn't,
I've never exceeded over 40 hours, but I think 1 week.
and did you get your overtime that week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I guess maybe what I'm wondering is if the numbers would work out, if he was. But I guess if you have to go to 40 hours, then adding additional as far as overtime wouldn't be a way to put it in the budget where he could work. Or like as far as this year, if he went over his number of hours, but it was considered overtime, then that wouldn't throw him into the thing where you had to call him a full-time
Yeah,
employee.
you would, because overtime is totally separate from the determination of full-time employee. 32 hours a week for 4 months, he's full-time employee. We don't care what he does for overtime. So the 40 hours, the overtime is a totally separate calculation and condition.
Well, let's talk about that separate with HR, because
Okay.
her knowledge on that threshold is probably more up to date than mine.
Okay.
But I know it's a longer window of time. Just because your hours bump over 30 for a week or two doesn't trigger it. But if you're working that consistently and have been, then we need to talk about that. So we make sure we're in compliance on it.
Right.
But you're not eligible for retirement until after a year of employment, so that wouldn't apply for this year. Don't you guys have to wait a year before?
Did we change that? I know there was discussion on it.
We haven't taken
I
formal
don't think
action.
we've taken formal action. We've talked about it, but
I thought that was one of those documents that Suzanne gave us when she was here.
She gave us a talk. That was,
I didn't
We
know
can
if that
talk
was a
about it.
decision. Okay,
I don't want to take up Art's time on that. Anyhow, Art,
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking.
We
Um,
got you distracted.
The other thing is, I've never been comfortable with the miscellaneous category in,
Thank you.
um,
Me either.
it's just something that to me is, I want everybody to know where my spending is.
You'll be transparent, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
good
Yes,
idea.
ma'am. So that's the reason that came down. I think it was like $1,200 last year, and I just dropped it to $100 in the event that there was some kind of
Small fee.
small fee or something like that that I couldn't cover. Training, I believe asked for an increase on because it looks like in the 2021 year, there's going to be some more training available.
I don't see training on here.
You got mileage and he has travel and registrations.
I think Ms. Benton put it under registrations to, what was the number?
It increased by 250 to $750.
Right.
Is that training?
Yes, yes. And that's what she explained. She was going to put it under as far as registrations.
So she increased, and looks like she did increase travel, registrations,
Mhm.
and she kept mileage the same, so.
Now, the question on the mileage is, right now, you've been gracious enough to let me use the county vehicle. Does that mileage go towards the county vehicle, or is that something that if I used my personal
That
vehicle?
would be personal
It's a
vehicle.
POV.
Well, if I'm using the county vehicle, I don't see why I need to have mileage added in there. Just for the simple fact that, that's going to save some money in this budget. But, like I said, it wouldn't be used, excuse me,
So you wouldn't use your car to go and trade in, you would use the county vehicle?
I'd use the county vehicle, yes,
He's
ma'am.
got a dedicated vehicle right now.
Okay, so we want to reduce
Should
that to
we
zero?
put a little bit in there in case there's an event where you have to use your personal vehicle or you're just not anticipating it?
I'm not anticipating it. I mean, that's something I could look at for next year. If I had to use my vehicle, the reason I'm not using my own personal vehicle is it's a
Your choice.
truck and it's a choice,
Okay, we got $565 in mileage expenses year to date.
That had to have come from before I got hired. That wasn't, because I got hired in March.
Okay.
And I have not turned any personal receipts in for my vehicle.
But
in
in
travel.
August, we showed $416. And October, $565. So there's $250 between.
That shouldn't
August
have
and
been
October.
for, let's see, I went to Colorado Springs for training. And then the training that I went to that got canceled in Dolores. So those were 2 hotel rooms, but that was at $250.
And that's not mileage.
I have to look into that one.
That's travel, but it's not mileage.
I'm wondering if something got
Might be on the wrong
miscoded,
line.
yeah.
And if I put it on the wrong line item, I'm sorry.
So,
Anyway.
I can change that
See your
to
hand.
zero, that 1,000 to zero?
Just put 100 in there. And then that way if there is an emergency, case in point, pulling the emergency trailer, if we have it and I have to use my vehicle,
Okay,
that would be more than enough.
Okay. Do we need to talk about a vehicle?
Yeah, we have been a little bit, but we do need to figure out what we're gonna do on that. We need to get to what we need for that job is a Grand Cherokee or something like that you can, if a guy had to even be somewhere and you had to spend the night in it, you have someplace you could do that, but be able to put all the stuff in the back end of it and it's secure.
And also totally.
And with the tow package, yes, sir. Just for that trip.
There's discussion about who owns that trailer. Is it public health or emergency management?
And I have had the same discussions, that was there when I got here. You and I we've all spoken about it, and I've taken over the inventory on it. And I use Ida as, my liaison. But my thing is, it seems to be just a storage unit for a different department.
That's actually a conversation we probably need to have with Jody, because there is a story on that trailer, so.
Okay.
Keep that question for her.
And,
But in any event, may need a trailer regardless of the ability to tow a trailer.
Yes, sir.
So we're looking at something like a Cherokee that would have the capacity to do that.
Yes, sir.
and I believe the discussion on the vehicle last year was that there was money from the previous year that we were going to try to spend before the end of the year, so we didn't budget a vehicle last year. So that needs to be added.
I have done some research and I've spoken with you on different vehicles and Commissioner, all three of you. And, we're looking, I have found some, but the mileage was high and it just seems like we'd be buying somebody else's problem.
Yeah, we want to make sure whatever we do, and we're buying something, it's gonna be used, but it needs to be light used.
Yeah.
And that's when I started, I was looking for something between 30 to 50,000 miles on it, and trying to find in that range, we'll be lucky to find one 60, 70,000 miles, give it $1. range,
Right.
so.
So what kind of a dollar amount would that be?
Well, it's probably gonna push $30,000.
So should we add 30,000 into next year's budget for that?
My opinion is I would.
Okay.
That wipes out our savings in the other departments.
Yep.
See, I don't want to cut any other department short on my account, but it's such a necessity. With the training that I had yesterday with the Summitville dam breach, if we had to actually get up there, the vehicle I'm driving now is not going to make it. I've already proven that going up there.
Well, which way did you go? Pinus Creek?
14 through past Chickenfoot and off to the right.
Yeah, go up Park Creek. You can drive a Cadillac up there.
No, we'll see. Nobody told me that. I took directions.
It's a highway up there. Yeah, you're right.
But there are other issues, when I went to the Goose Creek fire to look at that in Mineral County. And it's not just our county alone. If I work with the other emergency managers so that when they need assistance, I've got to be able to get there also. And it's a two-way street or a six-way street if you look at all the EMs. So, that's just my thing. I'm not asking for any medical insurance or anything like that for this budget. I just basically need to have the hours and the equipment to do my job.
Okay, so we understand your salary limitation, the need for a vehicle. You'd like to go to 35 hours. and
30, right?
30 hours.
30 hours. You wanna go to 30.
That would work, yes, sir.
But 'cause 35 makes it full-time.
Do we know exactly what he was budgeted for last year? For how many hours?
Yeah.
I've got a dollar amount, but I don't know
I
exactly.
didn't do the budget
'Cause-
last year.
I'm really wondering if we didn't already budget him for 30 hours last year. I'm not sure.
This is, that Trish's stop here. Let's see.
So you asked for 35, but it'll stop at 30.
Yeah, and I think y'all know me well enough to know that if I'm in the middle of something and it's 35 hours, I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to continue to do my job. There's been a lot of times that I have continued working and not charged, put it on my timesheets or anything. So,
That's not.
yeah, well,
I
I still like my job and I want to keep my job.
Can we use comp time to
See
offset?
on this.
I would think.
Comp time is in place of overtime. So if he's in a situation where he's worked more than 40 hours in a week, he can choose to earn comp time at an hour and a half, 1.5 for those hours instead of being paid for overtime. I don't think that applies if his general work schedule is 30.
However, if he works 32 hours, he can go ahead and log that. And then in another week or another time, you just work 28
So
hours,
you're
then it
talking
would all
flex
even. out.
time. That's flex rather than. comp.
Right.
Comp
Okay.
is replacement for overtime,
And
You
is
take
flex
it.
time,
if it's in the same pay period.
is it appropriate?
Yes, if it's in
Okay.
the same pay period,
So in theory, you could do 50 hours this week and do 10 next week. Right.
I got you.
as long as it's in the same pay
As
period.
long as my hours stay the same
For the pay period.
for the pay period. Yes, sir.
So that might be how we accommodate.
Except
that.
you said 50, not 50.
Oh, because that would throw you into overtime.
As long as you're paying them overtime for 10 of those 50, yes.
Okay,
Committee rules.
yes.
Let's follow up with you. Probably Deborah is the best person to talk
Okay.
through some of those.
Yeah, we
things,
need to
but
figure out.
We
exactly
can, we
what
can
the
work
rules
that
are
out.
Okay.
That'll accommodate what you want. So the reason we
Figure
said
out
30
exactly
instead
what
of
it was budgeted.
31 is you want to have a little.
Well,
Cushion.
a cushion and an even number. Yeah, that's fine with me.
If I could do the math, I'll do the math. Just see how many hours.
Yeah, it didn't matter. I just wasn't gonna get it 31 and a half or 31 3/4, maybe 31 7/8.
It's already going over budget.
That's what I
Right.
said.
For this year.
But it, I mean, it don't matter.
It, as long as, you know, as long as I have the approval to do my job, that's all I ask. I just can't do it in 20 hours a week. It's just, it's a discredit to the people, you, and I'm not saying a waste of my time, but I'm not getting things done that I need to get done.
So Debbie, in this calculation, you're going to increase them at least 50% on salary.
50%.
Well, 10 hours more a week.
So it looks like his actual budget went up in 2020. It went up to 25,000. And in 2018, it was almost 15,000. In 2019, the actual was 14,000. So they did bump it up in 2020 for some reason.
Well, because we had a different emergency manager at the beginning.
Is that what it was? And how many hours is she working?
I have no idea.
I-
But you can figure his, whatever his pay is.
So you want.
We've got two limitations to work on here. One is your salary cap,
Right.
and the other is the overtime issue here, or the full-time issue. What's full-time?
And I just looked up that full-time threshold is 30.
It is 30?
So if your regular job anticipates that you work 30 or more a week, that's when the county then is obligated to offer you health coverage. So 29 and a half would be the magic number, right?
Okay, well then, I mean, that's 9.5 hours more that I don't have to stress over.
So,
So I'll budget it for 29 and a half.
okay. At his current rate, and then we have to, if we do the COLA and merit, we got to think about that because it may throw him into a bad spot with his retirement, potentially.
Okay, I'll let you know what the amount comes to.
Your life is complicated.
Should
You
we-
just don't know, Commissioner.
Okay, do we have anything else that the vehicle we added in,
The radio,
The radio.
the
thing.
radio we added in, the 3,000, right?
Mhm.
So we added that in, and this is if you buy a refurbished used one upgraded.
I personally think that I can shop around and probably get the same compatible radio brand new for 3,000. That's what I'm
Can't you get on the
anticipating.
sheriff's bandwagon?
And I'm gonna check with him, but he was talking about refurbished radios, and I mean, I don't know, there's one man in town, there at 160 that does not even deal with refurbished radios, so I don't know if that's an
If
issue.
they were doing some refurbished and they located a source that had 10, maybe 7 or something like that. You had some
Okay.
left over.
Well, and I can look into it, and it may be that the radio I have is just actually an upgradable radio where I can just have it reprogrammed,
Find out.
$400. So, I mean, I just need that cushion to have.
And I think if you shop around and you can find a new radio for the same price as what he's getting refurbished, then great.
So this
Or
year,
whatever. In that vicinity, I think you're good.
we haven't spent anything on furniture and equipment, so in theory, you could buy it out of this year's budget.
1,500 is left
Right.
in there.
Right.
But that's not gonna be enough.
That's not-
You don't know, he might be able to upgrade for $400, he doesn't know.
Well, yeah. But
Well,
that-
and if I can do that, I mean, if you put the money in there and I don't use it, then it will just go back. I can say, hey, look, I've got this, you can take it away from me. I mean,
But could you look into that now?
yeah, I
If
can
you-
do that. I can
if
go
you
to
upgrade, it
special
wouldn't
fund.
Go in the same line. It wouldn't be a furniture
It would.
It wouldn't be a purchase, it
it'd
would
probably
be
maintenance.
maintenance or something, yeah.
It'd be equipment, right? Or is that not?
If you
quali-
upgrade, it
Upgrade
wouldn't
it,
be
is it
called
gonna be a
equipment.
brand new? It's gonna be a
No.
brand new one.
Well, if he can just get programming done to upgrade
Oh,
it,
yeah, it would
then
be
that
probably
wouldn't be.
equipment maintenance.
That's,
if he did the
But
$400
it's
thing.
within his department. The money's there within his.
the money's
department.
within the
Yeah.
department, and if I get my computer chip on my car reprogrammed, it still falls under automotive stuff, you know,
Maintenance.
not necessarily maintenance. I put a chip on there so I can do 180 kind of thing. That's
You're adding-
basically what they're
You're
doing.
adding to the power, huh?
Mhm. That's what they're doing here.
Are you doing that in the mobile or in the RV?
I tried and I topped out at 53.
Okay,
Big improvement, huh?
Yeah.
so I'm looking at 29 and a half. And I'll make that work. I mean, you know, I'm still gonna do my job. It doesn't
And
matter.
then we gotta figure out the salary cap issue.
Right.
Okay. So we've given him the 3,000, potentially 3,000 equipment upgrade next year tentative, but you might be able to end run that right now.
Correct.
Vehicle, up to 29 and a half hours a week. Is there anything else that we were looking at there?
29 and a half, can't it be up to 30?
It says, she
30
says,
30 is the magic number where
Where
we're
it changes.
obligated to offer health
Is that
insurance.
by law or is that our policy?
That's ACA.
Okay, so 29 and a half.
Look, I like my
Something-
job, so you
Something
just,
under 30 is all I'm gonna say.
29 and 3/4, but
We
It's
don't
that
care.
extra
But
minute
it
that'll
could
kill
be,
you.
it could be more one week, less another week. You kind of average it
Well,
out.
it
Right.
can be, but the trigger for the ACA is what is the position expected to work? And that's what this conversation is what are you budgeting for?
So we're doing it by week, but our constraint is also pay period, which is not necessarily by week.
There is, not for the ACA purposes. You're going back to that flex time question? So if for the 2021 budget, you say, here's this position, we expect you to work 30 hours a week, then you have to pay health insurance. If you say, here's this position, we expect that position to work 29 hours a week, no health insurance.
Okay, because what's gonna happen is if we can do the flex time thing, because you hit that week where there's a fire,
Mhm.
okay, and you're busy the whole week. Then next week or 2 weeks later, whenever, within that pay period, you can back off.
Right, right. And I dig that. My thing is, if we have a fire or anything like that, there's still the reimbursement on my time if we call in the state, because we would be, I'm sure we would receive.
It's not about that, it's do we trigger the health?
Health insurance.
Oh, I got you.
And-
What happens if I decline the health insurance? Because I
Well-
don't need it.
we've still got the retirement that is not
And I don't
An
know if
optional thing.
retirement is included and I've
In
not
the
seen
ACA.
any reference to retirement in the
On
Let's
ACA?
just say it that
I
way.
think that's our county policy
It is, a
And-
kind- you
and it
have
may
to
be
have
it.
retirement with after a year of employment.
at the county policy.
At 30 hours a week.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm not sure about 3. I thought it was 32 that we need to look into that
Okay.
because.
And I don't
That-
know why
That
we
can
mandate
be,
that.
can.
I thought it was
probably
32 all
is
along
different.
too. I
Yeah,
thought that
so
was
if
the
we're not,
truth.
if it's 32,
Yeah.
we might have to revisit that if it's 30 according to the ACA.
Well, the ACA is 30. That has nothing to
And
do
the
with
ACA is just
retirement.
health insurance,
Health
though.
insurance.
That's strictly-
Affordable Care Act. Which does not address health insurance, or not address retirement.
We're talking about our health insurance. We want to make sure our policy here for health insurance matches the ACA.
Right,
Right.
we
That's what I'm
do,
saying.
we do, yes, yes, we do. But back to your question, if you have a busy week and then a less busy week, that's still the same number of hours required for that position on an ongoing budgeted basis.
Right, okay.
So we're okay on that.
Would
Okay.
it be wise to put in some allowance for overtime? even if probably his overtime would be on something that would be reimbursable from another amount? Or, because I know you say that you have to have it in your budget, and if not, then you have to do a supplementary. That's
Well,
probably not a
It's
likelihood.
like within the funds is where you have to be careful within all the budget. It's not within the departments or line items, it's mostly within the general fund. Like, let's say you budgeted 100,000 in the general fund to spend, and you spend 150,000, then you're in non-compliance.
Okay, so that probably wouldn't be.
The only other workaround on this is you shift from salary to reimbursable employee business expenses, which means you buy the vehicle.
I like where we're at right
Well,
now.
no,
boss.
you buy the vehicle, but you get paid for using it.
Right.
Unreimbursable, and that comes off your tax line, so you're not paying the taxes on it. It takes care of some of the salary issues and things of that nature.
Right.
Your cap. But anything else like ACA, which I never had to deal with that because I quit having employees before Obamacare. Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm content with what you're giving me, the way that it is. And I will tell you, you know, if something comes up, I'm going to continue working and just get my job done. I'm just going to do my job. That's all I'm going to do.
Just keep doing that.
Okay.
Do we have anything else for him?
We
No.
have
For
a
Art?
special meeting that's supposed to start at 11:30, so
Right, so
I don't have anything else.
thank you, Art.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
So now we're going to a special meeting, and the agenda item there is take formal action regarding changes to draft budget.
I think that's what you're gonna give, the COLA, the merits. I think that's what that means. Might confirm that with Judy.
Are we talking COLA and merit?
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about. Only, right?
It would not hurt for you to affirm the direction that you gave on Monday for the health coverage increase that the county is picking up.
So all
Yeah,
the compensation
Totality of that.
package is what we're
Yep.
looking at. Okay, so we got to go through the drill here. Call the meeting to order. And the prayer and the pledge. Gene, would you?
I think it's your turn. Yeah. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for being with us in this time of our crisis of the coronavirus and being with our county residents. Lord, we just ask you to keep your hand on this meeting and let everything we do be good for the county. Pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Noster,
Present.
Commissioner Mothel,
Present.
and Commissioner Glover.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. And we're going to take action regarding desired changes to the draft budget, specifically compensation packages to include the health insurance increase cost. Any discussion on that?
I would move that that the county cover the increase in insurance for the employees.
Okay, we've got a motion.
Second.
Second, motion and a second. Any discussion? Motion carries. And then we're talking about the suggested cost of living increase and merit increases this year. And the suggestion before was, we asked, Gene, you had made a proposal on that, I think.
I've asked to take a look and see what the difference would be between the two numbers we had on it, but we were looking at the 2% COLA. That's what you're getting at.
Okay.
And merit.
Is there any discussion on that?
I think we're good.
I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion? Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. The COLA will increase by 2% and we will also authorize merit increases this year. Does that give you the language you need? What you're gonna do? Okay. All in favor? Aye. That's it.
Okay,
Do we have anything else for the good of
that's
the order?
it.
Can we recess for lunch then?
You will recess for lunch and resume at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, you'll go into regular session and then make a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of interviewing an airport manager.
Thank you.
All right, so
you.
we are ending
Debbie.
this portion of the meeting.